This podcast is brought to you by the Arate Podcast Pantheon. Please head to aratemedia.org to check out lots of other podcasts from our great friends, as well as, if you would like to start your own podcast, they could provide you with all sorts of resources to do so there. That's aratemedia.org, A-R-E-T-E media.org. On with the show, Jordan.
On with the show, we begin.
Yeah, we did it, Jordan. We're finally starting the show. Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Yeah. Welcome to the Spur of the Moment podcast, everybody. As always, I'm your host, Justin Spurr, and this week, nobody's derailing the intro, Jordan. We're joined by my co-host, the incomparable Jordan, everyone.
It's me, everybody.
It's Jordan. He's here.
I'm pretty incomparable.
For him, attendance is mandatory. On today's show, there's a surprise Lord of the Rings character that's making their live action debut that even Jordan will be like, wait, what? They're making a 300 prequel series and Michael Bay might come back. Maybe this one person's going to be in the new Transformers movie, G.I. Joe movie. You'll probably be surprised. Moana 2 looks like shit. And then later, we're going to talk reboots as suggested by Jake. Please check out our previous episode. Go check out all of Jake's stuff. Thank you to him again for being on the show. He suggested
Thank you
reboots.
So much.
We're gonna talk reboots. And also, I've also forgot to mention this episode is sponsored by the Goosebumps crew and One Weekend in Horrorland. We are gonna talk more about that later. Don't you worry. It's very exciting. We're gonna let them promote their own stuff. It's gonna be fun. Anyway, let's jump into this, Jordan. Jordan, I'm gonna let you guess which character you think was revealed to be in that Lord of the Rings show season 2 that will catch you off guard because it caught me off guard.
Tom Bombadil.
Tom fucking Bombadil.
They finally made him have a live action appearance.
He finally has a live action appearance, and I know nothing about Tom Bombadil, but based upon how people have described Tom Bombadil, he sure looks like Tom Bombadil.
I mean, I know him from the book, but
what is he? Is he like a hobbit? What's his deal?
I mean, what is anything in that series? Things that look like things are not actually what they appear to be. Wizards that look like wizards aren't people. They're like angels or some shit.
Sure, but Frodo's a hobbit. Is he like a hobbit? Is he a dwarf? Like, what's the deal?
I think I think the technical term would be a demigod.
All right, then.
I don't know. It's been years since I read The Lord of the Rings. My memory of him is he's like a fat short guy, but maybe that's just what my personal mind map of him is. I don't remember what his description is. It was a long time ago, and it's a very dense book, and even in audiobook format, it's still a dense book.
No adaptation of Lord of the Rings has ever done Tom Bombadil.
Because
it's crazy.
Because while he is like he exists in quite a big chapter of the book, his character, strictly speaking, I absolutely see how you could cut him. He's not necessary.
Well, it's just
strictly
funny
speaking,
because like the animated, it was like, oh, even the animated version cut him out, and I was like, man, it seemed like the animated version would be the place to do it. Like, from what I understand, a whimsical character like that. If I understand that character correctly,
he's just not necessary for the book.
To the story,
like, the story.
Yeah.
Because like he doesn't really come back. He's kind of a big-lipped alligator moment where they spend a lot of time with him, meet him, and I think it was like a river nymph or something like that, and then kind of move on with their adventure. And it doesn't really come back in any meaningful way, from what I remember.
I don't like Lord of the Rings, and I have no intention of watching that show. So like. All right.
I gotta be honest, I forgot it was even a thing.
It's just one of those things where it's like that character's notorious for being unadaptable. So I'm just like, how is he gonna fit in? Because isn't that show a prequel? To my understanding,
I think it is. I think it is. I don't actually know.
It's about how they make that ring.
As for my opinions on the, well, then I guess it would be a prequel. As for my opinions on the Lord of the Rings, I find that they're better games. It's another example of like a Star Wars where I find that they're better games than they are like movies.
The games are always way more fun than the movies are. I'm never
because
been a Lord of the Rings
kind of are capable. The when you do the game specifically with Lord of the Rings, they kind of get to do the stuff that's not just the main story.
Yeah.
Like for example, the Rings of the Mordor one,
Yeah.
where you get to be a random guy and not one of the people that is the Fellowship,
The,
and like it doesn't really have anything to do with the Fellowship of the Ring or anything like that.
my thing with that with Lord of the Rings is like I don't know enough about it to be upset when they get it wrong.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why I can enjoy. Like I'm sure, like Rings of Power, I probably like that show because I'm just not. I just don't like Lord of the Rings. I've never liked Lord of the Rings. And there's nothing against. This is one of those times where I wouldn't even say it's because I think Lord of the Rings is bad. I just don't like it. It's just I. It's like it is a very striking memory I have of being like, all right, that's just 9 hours of my life I'm never getting back. Like,
Yeah, it's not one of those ones where I have like a deep passion or a deep love for it per se, but I don't have anything against it. Like when I see a good story that takes place in it, like again, the Shadow of Mordor
yeah,
games, they're fun, they're enjoyable. The world itself isn't bad. I don't dislike the character designs. I don't. There's nothing inherently about it that I don't like. It just is kind of,
it just
it's
doesn't.
okay.
Yeah, it's just it's. I mean, but I think everyone can agree that that third Hobbit movie doesn't need to exist and is bad.
I mean, yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I think every person, whether they be Lord
Well,
of the Rings fan
especially
or not, can agree on that simple fact.
especially because like it kind of just stops doing the Hobbit stuff and dives into the Silmarillion
But
stuff, and
like
it's like, well, then
not
this is not
well.
this is not the Hobbit, and this is not the Silmarillion.
Yeah,
Like you're
it's
not
like
doing either justice.
because you can't do the Cimmerillion. I just want to say that to do an adaptation of the Cimmerillion would be tough because it's just so dense. So it's like,
Well,
and
yeah,
the Hobbit's
that's
not
my
dense enough to sustain a trilogy.
yeah, well,
Just realized I had
exactly.
water here.
Um, that's my understanding of the Silmarillion is it's not really a book so much as it is a syllabus on the world and the things that
Pretty
are in
much,
it. Like
pretty much, yeah.
it's not meant to be read like cover to cover.
It's not a
It's
narrative.
essentially
It's more of an
it's
encyclopedia.
yeah, it's essentially a character Bible.
Yeah, pretty much, more or less. Yeah, and it came out. I think. Oh, my Lord of the Rings knowledge is so bad, but I want to say it came out before the Lord of the Rings. Because Lord of the Rings
I
is very much it's so funny because
could couldn't
like
tell you.
I didn't it's another one of those like pop culture the Lord of the Rings is so much more dominant pop culturally now because of the movies that like I didn't realize it's technically a sequel. Like I always
Yeah,
thought that it
I mean the Hobbit came
yeah,
first.
the Hobbit, everyone treats the Hobbit as though it's a prequel, but it's not. It's technically the first book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lord of the Rings is
Even within
very much a
even
sequel.
even within the realm, like the realm of the story itself, Bilbo Baggins writes
Yeah.
there and back or whatever, a Hobbit's journey, which
Yeah.
is just the Hobbit, and then later on he's like, Frodo, you should write about your adventure with the ring, and that's where in universe the story of the ring comes from,
Exactly.
is Frodo writes it literally after it all happens.
Exactly. So yeah, they're making a 300 series apparently, a television series. It's going to be a prequel, I think. And they're in talks. Zack Snyder may come back, which like this is the one time where I'm like, all right. I mean,
I don't
all right.
why, how I don't get it. The way that the original what is
Pre
it? What is the
prequel.
show going to be about?
Prequel. So I'm guessing probably young Leonidas. I guess probably if I had to guess.
Okay, okay. I don't really see it.
I'm not super hardcore into 300, but I guess yeah
Well, I've only seen the movie, and the movie is really sort of about that battle of the 300.
yeah. So
So,
I guess you do
what
another
do you?
battle, another battle
I
that
don't.
with Spartans that takes place either. Well, it's a prequel, so previously before that one, before they're all dead, presumably,
Okay,
because
I just
they're
don't
like a group
see.
of conquering
I,
warriors. So like another thing they conquered, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I just don't see how it sustains a show or even a
Oh,
movie.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, what is it? You say sustains a show, so you say that because you picture the 23 episode show, but 23 episode show's dead. Does it sustain a full show? No, but it certainly sustains one of those six episode bullshit affairs they do on streaming nowadays. Where it's basically just a
I
6 hour
just
movie that's badly paced. It absolutely suits that. And
I mean, I just don't get it. I don't. What do
especially
you, what do you do? Maybe it's because I don't have the blind nostalgia for 300 that clearly enough people do to make this show, because I don't get it. There's not enough there to make a prequel. Who cares about what happened before? The story is the Battle of the 300. That's why the sequel isn't good.
Well,
Is
for
because what made that movie good was that Battle of the 300. There's nothing before or after that really. It's just okay. So it's a show about Spartans.
I think the
Who,
sequel, if
who
I
cares?
recall,
Why even at that point? Why even attribute it to 300? You could just say it's a show about Spartans.
I mean,
It's not really. There's nothing there. There's no characters that are like, okay, this character is fascinating, and we need to see him as a kid.
yeah,
No,
Leonidas.
there's not. No, he's not.
Leonidas.
He's not interesting
Leonidas.
enough.
No, but I'm saying you keep like, where's the prequel? Leonidas. You do a Leonidas prequel show. That's where the prequel is. Whether or not it interests you,
Who
but that's
was
where
asking for it?
I mean, 300 fans of Zack Snyder.
I don't get it.
Those guys really like his movies, man.
Like that's where I just say I don't get it.
And
there's
the,
not there
and-
to me there's nothing there that warrants a prequel.
I mean, yeah, again, well, not that it warrants it, but there is theoretically content there to be mined.
Sure, but you like I guess my point is that yeah, okay, you put the title Leonidas on the character, but he's not a character. Not really.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, he's a leader. Again,
So
he's a leader
this-
of the Spartans, so you have it be about how he becomes the leader. Again, you're. I don't understand what you don't get about this.
I don't see that. Maybe it's because I'm picturing Gerard Butler as the character, and there's nothing there. He's not that character that Gerard Butler portrayed. Whether Leonidas is a real person or a real whatever, like he's a
there's nothing there?
I'm saying the version that we had in that 300 movie that Gerard Butler played. Maybe I'm trying to say Gerard Butler's a bad actor. That's up for debate. But I don't see that character having a prequel show.
What do you mean?
I don't see.
How do you not see it? He's a kid. You have it where he's a teenager, and it's about him becoming.
He's not an interesting character. He's not. I don't see where the interest is. I don't see. I don't get what appeals a person to go and watch this show. I understand how you can make it. Obviously, I just don't see where the draw is. I don't understand why it's being made. I don't get it.
I don't know. Because
I don't think the movie is that good.
I mean, people really like that movie. That's why it's being made.
I don't get it. It's what I'm saying. I don't get it. It's fine. It's not a bad movie necessarily. I just don't think it has enough meat and potatoes for there to see where there's an interest to see about his past. I don't see it.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, again, meat and potatoes. I mean, you do a basic bitch story about how he's like, oh, he was like a weak kid, and it's about him finding his strength or whatever. It's not a hard thing to write.
I don't see where the interest is in that. I don't understand what is drawing people to it.
You slap the.
I don't get it.
I mean, if it
we
looks,
can go around and around and around in circles
you keep cutting me off. You're not letting me finish. If you slap the 300 paint on it and you slap Zack Snyder's name on it and you say it's Zack Snyder coming back to, then the Snyder boys clap like seals.
I know.
You're thinking about this far too intellectually.
Yes, because that's what we do.
No,
I'm not talking about for the lowest common denominator. I'm just saying I don't understand where the appeal is. I don't get it.
I keep explaining to you where the appeal is. The appeal is.
Yeah, and I don't understand. I don't get it.
Yeah, the appeal is that it's 300 and people like 300.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't know, because it appeals to a low common denominator kind of person. I don't know. I don't know why people like 300.
I don't get it.
I've never gotten it. I'm like, it's just kind of it's an okay movie. It's fine. It's okay.
It's fine.
And also to go back.
I guess my thing. If you're gonna make a thing about a Spartan, why not make a God of War show?
They are making a God of War show.
Okay. We don't need that. We don't need that and 300.
The 300 sequel is not technically. It didn't take place afterwards. It was a I don't know what you call them. But you know where it takes place at the same time.
Oh, I don't know what you would call that, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure it takes
sidequel.
Sidequel? I'm pretty sure it takes place. It's a
I
sea
mean,
battle that takes place at the same
the
time.
technical, if it was a book, you would call it like a sister
A
story, or
sister
like a
story. I think
side
anyway.
story.
Yeah.
Like for example,
Side story. Side
En-
story sounds better. Yeah.
Ender's Shadow is technically a side story of
Yeah.
Ender's Game.
Because I'm pretty sure it takes place while the fight is happening. Because I think at the end, I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. Because I think it ends with you seeing all the 300 guys dead, and I think some of them come back for it. I don't remember. All I know is that one wasn't made by Zack Snyder. It's bad. That's all I remember about it.
All I know is that one's not very good.
No, it's not very good.
But to be
I
fair,
saw that one before having seen the first one, though. So
to be fair, I think I did too.
yeah.
To be fair, the first one isn't very good either.
I mean,
it's kind of just action shot after action
yeah,
shot.
it's for what it is. It's great for someone's reel. It looks good in a YouTube montage.
So that's where I say, if we're talking about taking that and making a prequel show of that,
you just do six.
I don't get it. I don't get why people want it. I don't understand it.
6 episodes.
I never will.
Yeah, you do 6 episodes of flashy action sequences with no real substance. That's what you do. That's what people want.
No, I don't get it.
That's yeah. You keep asking, you keep saying what the
appeal
is.
I don't get the appeal.
That is the appeal.
Yeah, and I don't get it.
So apparently, based upon it says, despite the critical success of last year's Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, which I didn't think that movie was terribly successful. But anyway, they were apparently planning a live-action show that was going to be on Paramount+. And now it might move to Netflix. And I'm like, I wonder what the show would have been. Or will be, I suppose. Is it going to be based off of the movie?
I was going to say, depends on who you can get back, I suppose.
My thing is, my idea, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, and I will say it again next week because I'm interested to see, anyway, not spoilers. I want, my ideal version of a D&D story is that cartoon where the characters get teleported. It's basically Jumanji, but with Dungeons and Dragons, because I think that's fun. And then have it where it's a bunch of people who play Dungeons and Dragons, and he gets to be a ranger, or he gets to be a wizard or whatever. I think that would be really, really fun. But no, I mean, and also is it going to be one of those way too expensive?
Kind of like a tabletop RPG version of Sword Art Online.
Yeah. I mean, I always think the Jumanji movie. That's what I think. But
and I think if a person being brought into game, it makes me think of Sword Art Online.
I mean, I could see why it would. So that I think that's interesting.
That could be fun.
That could be fun. More D&D stuff, not less. But we're gonna talk.
I agree.
We're gonna talk more D&D at a later time. They have announced in a latest trailer that apparently it's called Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So I guess it's not gonna be called Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4. I thought that was just going to be its Japanese name and its international name was going to be Tenkaichi 4, but evidently not. But apparently they've added 21 fighters to the roster, including...
What's that? What does that bring it to a total of?
That's an excellent question. This article does not say. But here it is. The full list of confirmed characters are... Okay. Buckle in, Jordan.
I mean, you don't have to do the entire list. You could just give us a total number, and people could go look it up themselves.
No, we're doing the whole list, Jordan. You did this. I need the audience to know that while they're hearing this list of names, Jordan did this. You did this, Jordan.
I tried to save you all. This
is your fault. Okay.
This is just
from the top. Trunks (parentheses kid). Trunks (parentheses kid Super Saiyan). Goten Super Saiyan, Khalifa Super Saiyan 2, Kale. The fact that transformations are separate characters, I fucking hate that. Kale Super Saiyan, Gotenks Super Saiyan, Gotenks Super Saiyan 3, Khalifa Super Saiyan 2, Vegeta Super Saiyan Blue, Gogeta Super Saiyan, Gogeta Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, Fusamasu, and Fusamasu Half Corrupted. And
So like
it bothers me
70
that
70% of that is just the same character.
right. It's just the same character, and it was like Xenoverse did that too. It
Also,
drives me crazy.
I didn't hear you say Goku
Oh, I think those were
or
just the ones that were
or
announced.
Gohan
I,
or any of the other characters.
I think those were. I don't think that was the full list. I think that was just the list of the ones that
Oh,
they
okay.
announced with the trailer. I,
Good, because if you had done the full list, we probably would have been here
I
for an
want to say
hour.
the full list is 50, and a bunch
With
of them
with
are just Goku.
with 17, I was gonna say with 17 different versions of Goku.
Because like the first trailer was the one where they announced all the Vegeta and Goku ones, and it was just five, six different versions, and it's just like, yeah, man, you can't be like my game has 50 characters when 20 of them are the same character but with like different transformations. That doesn't count, man. It's
No,
not the
I
same
hate it
thing.
I hate it in Xenoverse when they do that. Like I prefer when they have it where it's like Budokai did it, where it's like you choose Goku and you go through all the transformations.
Oh,
And like sure, maybe you had like a special one where like if he was fusing, or like a special one for Super Saiyan 4, or
yeah,
like but like so like you have a special one for Blue or a special one for whatever, right? Like I get it, but make it abilities, not characters.
right. Like my thing, or every subsequent Xenoverse 2 DLC is more and more progressively agitating. Like they've added this new one where the big brag is, oh, the characters transform now, and it's like, what? This game's been out for I think it's pushing 10 years. It's been out for like every yeah no
I think it's
I
I think
think
it's
it
longer than 10
I
years.
think is it longer than 10 years? No, I think it is 10 years this year because it was 2014 and it's 2024. So I'm pretty sure it's 10 years this year. Which is absurd. It's absurd. And so like they've got this they've got the new brag with the new DLC is it's a Broly that can transform, and they've added a new ability with Gohan where he does an energy beam and he transforms, and everyone's like, yeah, they just stole that from the modding community. So it's like, man, instead of putting this shit into a decade old game now, maybe put it into a new one. Maybe put it in Xenoverse 3. Make Xenoverse 3. I cannot say that enough.
Xenoverse 2 came out October 25th, 2016, so it's 8 years old.
Oh, I thought it was 2014. Make Xenoverse 3.
Make Xenoverse 3.
Makes it stop doing DLC for Xenoverse 2. Like, oh, it's so annoying. So Jordan, they announced casting. Well, apparently he's in talks, which is interesting to me.
Go
But
on.
Chris Hemsworth is in talks to lead the Transformers and GI Joe crossover movie, which leaves me with a few questions. He says he's in talks, but that makes me wonder if that's miscommunication, and if he is gonna maybe is he gonna voice Optimus Prime? Is what I'm wondering. Is he gonna take over for Peter Cullen, and he's gonna be Optimus Prime? Because I'm like,
I mean,
wasn't that
it would make a certain level of sense because they're setting him up like he's Optimus in that newer one,
right?
and obviously Peter Cullen can't do it forever.
Right? Because
So
I'm
it would
like,
make sense to set up like to have a consistency going
right?
forward.
Because I'm like that GI Joe, that is the sequel to the Rise of Beasts one, right? Like on all assumptions, like that's what that is.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's
Because
what it's supposed to be.
Unicron is a pretty decent reason for the GI Joe and the Transformers to team up. I think, right?
I mean, yeah,
that's a Thanos kind of reason to necessitate such a crossover, I suppose. So
one would say.
would the guy from Hamilton not still be the main character in the next one? Because they showed up at the end of that and be like, hey, you want to go do a GI Joe? And he was like, yeah, I'll do a GI Joe. So like, would he not be in it? So if Chris Hemsworth is theoretically, as this article suggests, a live action new character that they're introducing, would he then replace the guy from Hamilton?
Well, let me ask some questions of my own that you may or may not have the answer to. Are they doing a solo GI Joe movie?
I do not believe so. Not that I've heard of. Not that I'm aware of.
Then I suppose the real question would be in this crossover movie,
Oh,
what's the balance here? What's the
I see where you're going with
transformer
this.
transformer to GI Joe? Is this where they're going to set up the GI Joe? And if so, that's where it would
He,
probably be more of a GI Joe movie than a Transformer movie.
so theoretically, well, as you were saying this, I'm like, oh, there's a guy. Channing Tatum played a version of him in the GI Joe movies. But the main guy from GI Joe, I can't remember what his name is, but he's the main character. Chris Hemsworth could be him.
Yeah.
As you were saying that, I'm like, right, there's a G.I. Joe portion of this. Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. So yeah, he could theoretically be him.
He could be him. He could be Optimus. I mean, they might go that route.
Yeah, that's why
but
I'm wondering if it's going to connect. 'Cause
I
they seem to suggest that they want to build a cinematic universe.
then that's where I say Peter Cullen can't do it forever. So
No.
they to set up another voice isn't like
Yeah.
certainly possible, but I think Chris Hemsworth is a better seen not heard kind of actor.
Well, that's what you think, right?
Usually he's typecast into that kind of situation.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see him being the G.I. Joe main hero.
Right? I could see that. And then he would definitely balance out he would definitely balance out the guy from Hamilton.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna watch that but I ran out of time. I was gonna watch that one again for this week.
Well, you'll just have to find an excuse to watch it later.
Yeah. Anyway, apparently, Jordan, they're making Batman Ninja 2, which I don't really remember. The only thing I really remember about Batman Ninja 1 is that it was bad. I just remember it was really bad. It was a really bad one. That's the one.
Oh
where,
yeah, isn't that the one where they end up fighting in giant like robot mechs?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of Snapchats of me like being like, this is so bad, and I don't remember the context. All I really remember of it is it involves like Batman going back in time to feudal Japan, and then out of nowhere there's a subplot where he's like looking for the Joker who has like lost his memory, and then the Joker somehow gets his memory back. And yeah, then there's a scene where there's a bunch of mechs, like even though they're in feudal Japan, there's a bunch of mechs and they fuse together into a giant robot, which like normally I would love that. If you watch this podcast, you would know that I would love that, or listen to this podcast, you would know that I would love that. But I just remember it was terrible. I remember it was a really just genuinely bad movie that has a really high percentage on Rotten Tomatoes that I remember confused me. So I'm curious about this. This is one of those times where like I when it comes out, I might be inclined to do it on the show and just be like
work it in,
find a way to do an episode where we do maybe we'll do a Batman exclusive episode where we do like Batman, because I've got a bunch of Batman shit I haven't seen, bunch of those animated movies I haven't seen. We can dig
maybe
them up.
We will.
Maybe we will. See, this is the fun of doing this show live, is I think of these things on the fly. Apparently Netflix, Jordan, they've announced Netflix is doing an animated series about Minecraft, or
I saw the
Minecraft.
teaser for that,
and
I was not shocked.
I wasn't shocked either. My question is like, is it gonna have like the same art style as the
interactive story?
Yeah, when I think animated Minecraft, that's just all I think of is that. Like, is it gonna just basically be that?
I could see them doing that. My question is are they gonna somehow manage to get Jack Black to come and do the voice of the main character?
Supposedly, it's not gonna tie into the movie, so they say, but maybe. I mean, it does certainly seem sort of suspicious that the movie they've just finished filming the movie and they just announced this show. When it comes to synergy like that, things don't happen. I cannot. Minecraft is kind of a remarkable thing, and how it's expanded. I'm actually genuinely kind of curious as to what that movie's gonna be. I will definitely watch it.
I'm honestly surprised it's taken them this long to make a show.
Right? Like, even they said animated, but I said the same thing. I always say that about Angry Birds. Angry Birds to me is like yeah, but that should have been a franchise. Like more of a Minecraft is exactly the same. Where it's
Minecraft is bigger than Jesus Christ, though. So I mean,
whoa, are we allowed to say that?
That's gonna get me in trouble.
Are we allowed to say that? Are we allowed?
They're bigger than Minecraft is bigger than the Beatles.
That's what you should have said. That's funny. So that's a funny joke. They're bigger than the Beatles, and as we know, the Beatles were bigger than. Never mind.
But no, Minecraft is very big. It's been very popular for years, and it surprises me that it's taken this long to make a show.
I'm guessing it's probably...
You have a show about Pac-Man, and Pac-Man's from before a lot of kids that watched cartoons were born.
True.
The fact that there hasn't been a Minecraft show till now, when Minecraft is like, what, 15 years old at this point?
I'm sure there's probably been a number of pitches for them. My best guess is that they haven't been able to crack a narrative. That's what would be my thing, is they finally like figured out, because that Minecraft movie has been sitting in development hell for like literal years because they haven't been able to crack how to make it.
2011. Minecraft's original release
Oh,
was November 18th, 2011. So the fact that it's taken till 2024 to make a show out of it is astounding to me.
I know that.
Yeah, and you say Minecraft, they were having a hard time creating a narrative towards it. I yet again point towards Pac-Man, the round circle with dots that he collects.
I
That
mean,
has a narrative that had a narrative created for him.
I mean, sure, but it took them a while to manage to crack that too. To be fair, um, but
I stand by what I said.
and to be fair, they did eventually crack a narrative, and that's how you wound up with Minecraft Story Mode, which allegedly is good. I hear.
It is good.
Um, but yeah, I know that Minecraft movie has been sitting in development hell for a long time because it pops up in my Facebook memories every once in a while. When they first announced it, I want to say in like 2013, 2014, like a long time ago. Um,
So like the FNAF movie.
yeah, exactly like the FNAF movie. Yeah, I went through like several different versions of it because probably because they were like, like we've said multiple times where we're like, what even is a Minecraft movie? Like, what is that? That movie, that game is so. A Minecraft movie is just such a what's the word I'm looking for? Like obvious attempt to like, oh, you see a successful thing and you need to take it to another medium to find a way to maximize its profitability. Like, we need to have a Minecraft movie because Minecraft is popular. Like, that's what that feels like. It's one of those things where it's like the idea, there's no idea for it. They just know that they need to make a movie so it can make $1 billion at the box office because Minecraft is popular, and it will.
I mean, sure, but in argument of that, I would point towards the Lego movie.
Fair. That is fair. The thing that made me go, you know what? Anytime I hear Jack Black is in a thing, I'm automatically like, I'm at least a little interested. Even his worst stuff is at least is fun. Like when he stopped trying to be like, when he stopped trying to basically be like a Adam Sandler, like Rob Schneider type of comedian, and he was like, no, I'm just gonna be like a goofball and fun. Like
I'm Goofy Dad.
Yeah. When he kind of made that his identity, I'm like, I'm kind of into anything he'll do. Maybe it's when he sort of like became JB, like in everyday life. When like his Tenacious D character just became his personality. I'm like, you know what? I like that so much more than the frat house bro type of humor that he was doing in his early career. Like Shallow Hal. I fucking hate that.
When he stopped being Jonah Hill and he kind of became more Robin Williams.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. That's exactly how I would put it. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I'm so interested in because it's like oh I'm gonna do Bowser and I'm gonna just make it my own Bowser's Jack Black in that and it works and it's great and the thing that kind of made me go, you know what, I'm kind of into this is there's a clip I saw, I don't know if it was on TikTok or if it was on YouTube, but it was of Jack Black and Jason Momoa and they were like singing a little song together because Jack Black writes a theme song for every movie he's on. Fun fact about Jack Black.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Did you not hear the one did you not hear the one from Jumanji that him and Nick Jonas did?
Maybe?
I'll say Jumanji, it's the spirit inside your soul. That one? No? Not ringing any bells?
Not specifically.
I can't believe I haven't shown that to you before. Remind me when we're done this. I will. I'm almost tempted to, now that I know I can throw to clips, I'm almost tempted to throw to it, but it takes, the delay on your end is too long to play you a clip. Unless it's something that's like really memorable, so I'll save it for off the podcast. But it's nice to know that I can do that now. I will watch anything he's in. Yeah, they're really fun together, and I'm really excited. I also really like Jason Momoa. I've discovered I really like Jason Momoa. He's really fun. He's
come a long way since being a horse stallion from Dothraki.
Right? Since being that guy who violates women on that show about dragons.
Yeah, I said it subtly. You didn't need to just draw it out.
Jordan, I always take things too far.
Our audience doesn't appreciate that, as far as you know.
As far as I know. It's true. Yeah, it's true. I apologize to the 3 women who listen to our show. I'm sorry. I apologize. Our audience is large enough. And their mothers. I almost did it, Jordan. I almost made a reference to the thing you said I'm not allowed to reference.
Don't you dare.
Ugh, I almost did it, Jordan. That's the
Don't
punish.
don't
That's the
don't
punishment.
you
That's the
dare.
punishment, Jordan. That's the punishment. Whenever I say.
Anyways, is there any more news there, Justin?
Yeah, Jordan. Did you watch the trailer for Moana 2?
I've seen a trailer at some point, but I don't know if it's the one you're talking about.
There's a new one that has actual footage from the actual movie now.
Then probably not.
The Moana shows up at the end of it, and the pig is on the boat now. He's like, "Oh, there's 2 boat snacks," and that's a joke. That's a joke he says, and it looks like shit. It looks really bad. I mean, you know how it's
in its defense, it was supposed to be a TV show that was
sorry,
straight to Disney Plus,
and it absolutely looks like it.
Which they have repurposed and tried to make into a theatrical second movie.
Yep, it absolutely looks like it. It absolutely looks like it was supposed to go straight to streaming. It looks cheap as shit. It doesn't look quite as bad as that Megamind one, but it looks bad. It looks really bad. It's like, oh my goodness, this is not good. I saw someone say
they should be ashamed of themselves.
They really should. They really should be ashamed. Either put the money into a proper sequel or don't. Also, it's like just from a branding standpoint, it's confusing because it's like, okay, you're doing a sequel, which The Rock is in, but then they've also begun production on that live action one, which The Rock is also in. Like, I just really going all in on Moana. But the girl is in the second one, but she's not in the live action one.
On the subject of Disney, I heard that they finally opened that Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
I heard that it was just in previews. It wasn't actually. It wasn't.
Oh, I've seen bits and pieces of it on YouTube.
Yeah, no. Apparently, they were just doing test runs. Like they haven't. It's not the full launch yet. But I am excited. I am excited to see it.
It looks pretty.
I didn't want to look at. I'm normally not like big on. I don't really care about spoilers for theme park rides, but I kind of wanted to keep it like for when I eventually get to go and see it, because I hear it's impressive.
That could be a while.
It might be a while, or it could not be a while. But have you seen the animatronics for it? Like, it's insane.
I have seen a few of them, and it looks very impressive.
It's so crazy. Like, yeah, like our friend Haley at the Part of Your Broadway World podcast, we were chatting about it the other day, and she was like, "Oh, I miss Splash Mountain." And look, okay, I understand. I have a reverence for Splash Mountain. I have beloved memories of Splash Mountain. But that ride was old as shit, and it needed to be revamped no matter what. And like I can't remember if you were on the podcast with me when I said this, but no kid knows what Song of the South is. No kid knows who Brer Rabbit is. No kid knows who Brer Bear is. Like, they don't know, whatever.
Bear, yeah.
They don't know those characters. They don't care. Like that, like.
No, the only reason any of them know anything about them is from the ride.
From the ride, exactly.
At this point, it's just a bunny that they don't really know, but they know because of the ride.
Right. If I were to say to you, where's the song Zippity Doo Dah from, they'd probably just say Splash Mountain. Like,
exactly. They don't know where the original source material is, or what it is, or anything about it. They just know it from the theme park ride.
And also, I think they should. Don't fucking at me. Not for racist reasons. Also, don't fucking at me. But because it's important. Those who don't learn history, doomed to repeat all that nonsense. It should be on Disney Plus with a warning. You know, one of those stupid warnings that they put on stuff.
Yeah,
it should be on there with a warning.
They have other ones on there. I guess I get why they want to bury this, but like, it's part of your history.
Yeah,
like, just do it.
Its intent is not malicious.
No.
I'm not gonna turn this into a tirade about another movie I hate, but Walt Disney had a reverence for those characters. They were beloved childhood characters. It's not racist by intention. It's racist by
era.
Not even so much era, but like of circumstance is maybe how I would put it. Where it's like, because of when it takes place, it is incidentally racist, but it's not trying to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just put it on Disney Plus, slap a warning on it that says this may have outdated ideas or whatever, but nothing in the movie, and there's lessons in there that are valuable for kids. Nothing in that movie, like, it's not making the case that the era that it takes place in is a good one. It's just like, it just takes place in that era. I'm trying to be delicate and do a dance here, but it just happens to take place in that era.
Anyway.
But yes,
the ride itself needed to be updated, and it looks like they did a very good update. My one thing that I kind of
There's elements of it I don't love.
I wish that it didn't take place after the movie. I wish that it took place during the movie, because then you could have scenes with the Shadow Man, and play into that, like the actual beats of the movie a little bit more. So like when you get to the top of the hill and you're about to go down, I think that it would be better there if it was like you're running from the Shadow Man.
Oh, that would have been. I do. It does apparently feature the music from the movie, so I do think that probably as you're going up, it does do "Are You Ready?" Like that's.
I don't know. I haven't actually watched anything with it, because you're right. I would like to one day be able to experience it organically.
I've seen some of the mechanics of it. I don't love what they've done with the carts themselves, with the logs themselves. I don't love it. They made them smaller.
I haven't seen any of that.
Yeah, they made them smaller, and now they can fit more people. So they look like it's like they're wider, so they can fit like 2 people in a row, but they're smaller, and they look really clunky, and I just don't like it. I don't like how it's set up, and it's more on rails than the previous ones. Like I like the bits where it feels like you're in a boat. Like as much as I hate, especially like when you're in like Disneyland and you're in California and it's hot, it's like that feeling that moisture. It's like, oh, it's a moment of like it being cool, and that doesn't happen when it's on the tracks, because the tracks are so hot. It's
right.
Right. But yeah.
That's a fun bit of Disney news.
That is a fun bit of busy Disney news.
Disney news.
Of Disney news.
You stumbled over your words there, and I want you to know we're all judging you for it.
Of busy Disney news. With that, we're going to move into the sponsorship portion of the show. And this week, we have a very special sponsor who is going to be, they're going to be our sponsor for the next little bit. We are sponsored today by the Goosebumps crew and the event that they are trying to put on, One Weekend in Horrorland. They have a Kickstarter for it. That you can, if you would help us out, you can go check it out. It looks like it's going to be a really cool event. They're gonna get all kinds of cool. If you're a big fan of Goosebumps, they're gonna get all sorts of cool celebrities. The girl who plays Carly Beth might be there. Tim Jacobson will probably be there. The voice of Slappy, the original voice of Slappy, will likely be there. They have akin it too, if you're familiar with, I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan, Power Morphicon.
Okay.
They've described it as would essentially be, or I thought of BronyCon. Basically they want it to be the fan convention for Goosebumps. But anyway, I've gone on too long. I'm going to attempt something experimental here. And they've got a little ad on their YouTube channel that I'm going to play for you. That they will absolutely explain everything. And everything, all the links are in the description below. And once the video's done, we'll come back and we will talk about Reboots. But I will let the Goosebumps guys take it away.
Greetings, boys and ghouls. I'm Sean with the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. You've asked for it, and now the Goosebumps Crew Podcast wants to deliver.
And you're in for a scare, because the Goosebumps Crew is proud to announce One Weekend at Horrorland.
So get ready, my friends, for an event that celebrates the magic of horror literature like never before.
It's where you'll find like-minded fans of some of your favorite horror shows and movies, including some of the guests who've appeared on the Goosebumps Crew Podcast.
Our special guests, panels, and activities for fans of all ages will immerse you in an exciting and spooky atmosphere, sure to get you into the spirit of things.
But here's the thing, we can't do it alone. We need your support to bring this dream of ours to life.
By making a donation, you become an essential part of making this extraordinary event a reality.
And as a token of our appreciation, the Goosebumps Crew has prepared some extraordinary gifts and rewards exclusively for our backers.
So, my friends, join us on this magical journey where we will create a weekend filled with pure passion and shared love for the horror genre.
Please visit our Kickstarter donation page now. Let your passion ignite the flame that will make this event a reality.
Anyone want to start? We should
God.
get
Oh, God.
every detail right.
Oh God, it's playing an ad for another thing. Oh God, we can't copyright. Oh God, but yeah, go check those out. Again, they're in the description below. If you can even donate, chuck in $1, whatever you can do, that helps those guys out, and it helps us out as well. So if you would do that.
And they have rewards and stuff on their Kickstarter as well for different layers, depending on how much you want to donate. So be sure to check those all out as well.
Exactly. But with that, on with the show, Jordan.
On with the show, Justin.
Indeed. So this week, as suggested, like I said, we had our friend Jake, and sort of midstream last week, I kind of went, you know what? When we have guests on, let's let them pick the topic. And so we turned to Jake and we said, Jake, what do you think we should tackle? And he, after a bit of discussion, came to reboots. So we're going to be talking about reboots. And the question we shall be asking ourselves today is, number one, is it a reboot or is it a remake? Because as we discovered throughout the week, the difference is kind of nominal. It's kind of minimal. And did it reboot the franchise? Was it successful? Were there multiple sequels? Did it reignite the franchise? And so with that, we move to rapid fire. And as per the tradition, Jordan, you may go first.
The first one that I watched was the Jackie Chan Karate Kid.
Hi, that was fun.
With Jaden Smith, Will Smith's son. And it's fun. There's definitely stuff in it to like. The fighting is fun enough. And Jackie Chan is always a delight.
Yeah. He's surprisingly good in that movie.
Now, as for whether or not it's a reboot or a remake, this is where I've come to hate this discussion. Because as it stands, with this, I would say remake because there's only one. But they're working on a sequel, so I guess reboot.
That's the thing. I don't think it's a sequel because I think it's technically they haven't been clear. Because you're right, it technically involves Jackie Chan, but it also Ralph Macchio, the original Karate Kid. Sorry, not the original Karate Kid. That's actually the blonde kid. He's the actual Karate Kid. But the kid who's not the Karate Kid, but the movie wants you to believe is the Karate Kid, he's coming back.
The villain, yeah.
The villain of the piece.
He's supposed to be coming back for the sequel, which then implies that this takes place in the same world.
But then my question is it going to tie into Cobra Kai as well? Because technically that character came back for the Cobra Kai, the show.
I don't know the details about the sequel at this point. Yeah. I just know that Jackie Chan is signed on.
So is that a sequel or is that a reboot?
I believe Jaden Smith has signed on. Well, that would be a sequel of this.
Oh, Jaden Smith has come back to it. I heard that he wasn't coming back.
I believe that's what I read, but I might be wrong about that.
I just know
that Jackie Chan and the one from the very original one are.
And supposedly the last I had heard about it was they were looking to hire a Asian kid, a young Asian kid, to be the new Karate Kid.
I'm not sure, but is that a sequel to 3? Or is that a sequel to this? And that's where I say, well, at that point, is this a reboot? Or is this a sequel? Or is this... I hate this discussion. It hurts my head, and it makes me want to destroy everything around me.
Prior to Jackie Chan announcing that he was coming back for this next one, I would have said remake. But now maybe it's a reboot? And then I would say, oh, technically Cobra Kai is a reboot because it rebooted the franchise?
Is it a reboot of this one? Or is it a reboot of the original? Or is it a sequel of this one and a reboot of the original? Or is it a requel?
Or is it a requel? Yeah. You know what? Let's table this until it comes out. We'll come back to this. We'll come back to this discussion when it comes out.
But it's fun. It's cute. It unlike in the original Karate Kid. Jaden Smith absolutely has a right to be upset with his mother for forcing him to move to a country where they don't even speak his own language.
Yep.
I would be upset. I moved across the city and I was upset.
Yep.
So yeah. But it's cute.
I had 2 points to make and I've lost.
I heard it here.
that was it.
Go home.
That was it. Yeah, I've said that so many times when I'm at work, when I'm upset, where I'm like, I hate it here. I want to go home. And the other thing is,
it's like I feel bad making fun of it because in the movie he's supposed to be like 13, and it's like that would be a pretty accurate.
No, it is an accurate response, and I felt it. I'm like, we've all been there.
Yeah,
we've all
been there.
That became a meme for a reason. My question to you, Jordan, is would you say about Jane Smith in that movie, Jordan? Would you say that he was raised, no pun intended, by the power of will?
Because his dad's Will Smith.
Yeah,
I get it.
Like the line in that song he sings.
Wait, what?
It's a line. That's a line from the song.
Oh, I thought it was a joke that you came up with on the spot.
No. Very much that's a line that he says in that song that he sang with Justin Bieber. That's at the end of the movie that you watched. It's in the credits.
Oh, I don't watch the credits.
Oh, yeah, he sang it with Justin Bieber. It's a good song called.
I'm not in the theater. I'm not waiting for a secret scene at the end, which ultimately isn't worth sitting through the credits and killing my bladder.
It never is.
I'm at home where I don't have to do that.
Jordan, but you have to sit there and watch the credits so you can appreciate every single person who was involved in making this.
I mean, I can appreciate it without knowing their names or anything about them.
My favorite bit in that movie is before we move on. My favorite bit in that movie was when we watched it with our mutual friend, who when it came time to do the jacket on, jacket off, I remember him saying, "Oh, so that's wax on, wax off." Apparently that came from, I saw a behind the scenes clip where I think it was the writer, it was either the writer or the director of the original, was describing like where that came from, and it was like that was their approach of like it was to teach basic like martial arts concepts very basically, like how do we convey that in like the simplest form possible, and that's where wax on, wax off came from.
Interesting.
I know. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I assume that was all you had.
Oh, that's all I got. What's your first one there, buddy?
My first one is Bumblebee. And here's the thing. Here's the question. We'll start off with the question first of all.
You didn't get enough torture with the Transformers.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, Bumblebee's good. It's a good movie.
Now I see why you might say that because it's the least bad one, Justin.
No. The least bad one is the next one. That's the least bad one. This one's actually a legitimately good movie.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give you a chance to explain yourself.
It's just the number one thing about it that makes it better is it's quiet. That's the first thing. It's not loud. It's not like metal scraping against and screaming and running. The main girl is actually a likable character. Like she's a decent person who's like a sweet character.
I do recall that.
The thing is, we're going to start with the question up top of, is it a reboot? Because this movie could be considered one of two things. It could be considered a prequel to the Michael Bay ones or a reboot. And as a prequel, it is utterly and totally incomprehensible. Like it doesn't make any sense because. So
could it be a requel, a prequel?
I don't. I think it was one of those things where it became a reboot, but because okay. The opening section sequence of this movie, the first 3 minutes of this movie, is the second best Transformers movie. The best Transformers movie is the cartoon one, obviously, but
the 85,
the best live action Transformers movie is the first 3 minutes of Bumblebee.
Interesting.
Like it's not interesting. That's not debatable in my opinion. It's just not. You cannot debate with me. Like in terms of being Transformers stuff, like that's the 80s cartoon. If you took it and you made it in live action, that's what it is. But apparently, originally in that scene, Megatron was going to be there. And the reason why he's not there is because the director of that movie wanted to maintain continuity with the Bay movies. So in that movie, it takes place in the 80s, like before the first Transformers movie. Sector 7 is in that movie, and Megatron is still being held. But a major plot point in Bumblebee is that the Decepticons negotiate with the American government. and the military. So the military has interacted with and knows that Decepticons cannot be trusted, but are surprised and ambushed by it makes the movie not make sense. But if you treat it as though it's a reboot, and also just wait, so Bumblebee came to Earth in the 1940s and did World War II. I can hear myself. Am I echoey to you?
Not on mine.
No? Okay, hopefully that's not. Sorry, it's just really, I can hear myself really echoey. I don't know why. Sorry. So according, if Bumblebee is indeed a prequel to the Bay movies, then Bumblebee came to Earth and to do World War II.
I'll turn down my gain just in case I'm picking you up.
Oh, maybe. So Bumblebee came to Earth in the 1940s and helped the Allies fight the Nazis, because that's what happens in the 5th Transformers movie. Left Earth, went back to Cybertron, helped the Autobots on Cybertron, then came back to Earth to do this movie, and then wait around and hang around to meet Shia LaBeouf. And then also, if this is supposed to take place before the Michael Bay movies, it ends with him meeting Optimus. So Optimus came to Earth, took the form of a pickup truck, left Earth, turned back into a regular robot, just to come back to Earth and turn into another truck. You see what I mean? So it's like as a prequel, it's incomprehensible. It doesn't make any sense. But if you treat it as though like this is the beginning of a new story, perfectly fine movie. It's really fun. The action sequences
especially when you then go into the sequel of it, which is the Age of Extinction, I think, or whatever, the one with the Beast ones, that then can't continue on into the Michael Bay one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what. But it's still being produced by him, and it does share some of his aesthetic, I guess. But it's like, it doesn't make any sense for these things to connect to the Bay ones.
No, it can't. At this point, maybe with Bumblebee you could have, maybe loosely, loosely.
But no, if you think about it for longer than a second, it doesn't make any sense.
No, you definitely can't. Though.
Yeah. But otherwise, no. Its biggest thing is like it's not. Again, it's not. It turns it from like a big explosive nonsense to like it's a character study, and it's a smaller character piece. The only other part of it that it doesn't make any sense is there's a bit with the mom where she's talking about her in the garage with the car. She's like, you're doing who knows what with the car. It's like so far as you know, it's just a regular car. She's doing one of two things. She's either fixing the car or she's sitting in the car. There's really only so many activities you can do with a car alone.
I mean, is it in a closed garage?
I mean, yeah, but the that's not the implication. The implication is that the mom thinks that she's like having sex with the car. It's very weird. There's like a romantic sexual tension between the lead girl and Bumblebee. She mentions the fact that she's 18 like a weird amount of times.
All right, I'm not going to touch that one.
Like it's always she's like, I'm 18. All right.
I mean, we've already hashed this out, but we're not going to talk about how the Transformers movies like to have people that are older than the girls explaining why they can date underage girls.
No, this one doesn't do that.
I'm just saying that this franchise has a history of that.
It does have a history. But no, it's honestly, it's the best live action Transformers movie. It's the only one of them that it's a good movie. Anyway.
All right.
What's your next one?
My next one. So we need to go back in time. Tobey Maguire has just done his third movie, and Sony is like, you know what? We're tired of that guy. Let's get a new guy to do it. And they brought in Andrew Garfield to do the Amazing Spider-Man. And I maintain to this day that he is a good, like he's one of my favorite Spider-Men, but I think he is a terrible Peter Parker.
I think that movie is too long. I see what they were going for. I don't think it works. And then I think they overcorrected in the next one.
I mean, I can't talk about the next one because that's not part of the reboot. That's just a sequel.
I will say I do like my favorite scene on that one is where he saves the kid on the bridge. That's my favorite scene in that movie.
I mean, my favorite scene in this movie is when he's going up against the dude with the knife. And he's like, "Oh no, knives! My one weakness. You found it." Like he's quipping like Spider. He's not Spider-Man there,
Right.
but he's quipping. He's quipping like Spider-Man.
The one thing,
And that was something that the Tobey Maguire movies up to this point hadn't really accomplished.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, that is the thing I like about him.
And so that's where I say I liked him as Spider-Man, and like leading into the next one, which again I didn't watch this time around, so I'm not going to talk about. But he was definitely more like Spider-Man in that one. I just don't think he's not my Peter Parker.
The two things I will say about it that once it's pointed out to you, you will never unnotice. And really, one of them is the most egregious thing that movie does. Is the fact that Peter Parker uses Bing to search. Who uses Bing? Get out of here! No one uses Bing. And the fact that he can't figure out that Kirk Connors is the lizard, even though Kirk Connors has been specifically using lizard DNA to regrow limbs, and there's a big lizard. And then when he's talking about the big lizard, he's like. He's like, what do you mean? Why are you talking about the big lizard? There's too many big lizards. Why do you want all the big lizards? You want to stop the big? Why would you want to stop a big lizard? And it's like, really? You couldn't figure out that guy was the big lizard? Ever since that was pointed out to me, I couldn't.
But I mean, poor Peter Parker. He's all alone.
Poor Peter Parker, who has a secret identity and is using his camera, whilst in that secret identity specifically labels his camera. Why did he do that?
I mean. Plus he's got Emma Stone as a girlfriend, and I mean, who wouldn't want that?
It just seems like poor playing to put when you're secretly disguised as a superhero to put your secret identity on your camera you were using while incognito.
I mean, the only other mistake that he could have made is putting his name, like writing his name on the inside of his mask in case he ever loses it.
I'm just saying it's the only other mistake they could have made. George, do you have anything else to say on Amazing Spider-Man?
Well, you haven't asked me the question.
Oh, did it reboot the franchise?
It absolutely rebooted the franchise. They got at least one more movie out of this bad boy.
Until the
and then he came back and he later on did a amazing thing with two other Spider-Men.
That is true. It did, and then the next one immediately killed it. I mean, mine also did relaunch the franchise, technically.
Technically speaking, yes.
Technically, it did. Anyway, was that all you had, Jordan?
Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man.
So it's funny because I know the direction you're going, and it's funny because this is unintentional and it's gonna match it. But my first one was the 2004 Fantastic Four.
Man, we got a real theme going on.
We got a real theme going, and that movie. Look, man, it's not very good. It's very slow. There's not a lot of action in it. And the final fight is dumb. Then it doesn't make any sense.
This is the Fan Force stick you're talking about, right?
No, this is the 2005 one. This is the Tim Story one.
This is the original one.
Yeah, it's the original
one. So now I guess that is a reboot because it's rebooting like the old 60s ones. Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Technically, it's rebooting, not the 60s, but you have the right idea. It was the 1980s, I think it came out in, but same
whatever.
Idea.
The super duper old one.
Yeah, the Roger Corman one. Yeah. Yes, it's rebooting that. Yeah. And yeah, it at least it kind of gets the Fantastic Four in the sense that it nails the sort of relationship between the characters the most.
And it does have the aesthetics of the Fantastic Four,
more or less
for when it came out.
Yeah, the best Fantastic Four movie to date is the second one. Like that one, at least they're doing something. Only because they're at least fighting something, they're doing something. This is like it's just a lot of montages of them with the testing the powers and hanging out in a room, like that, like with one thing where they fight Doctor Doom very briefly at the end. Like at least the second one's got like the Silver Surfer, and yeah, Galactus isn't great, but at least he's enough of a threat that it's like at least kind of interesting, and like some of the action sequences are fun, and like what they do with Doctor Doom is at least kind of interesting in that one. This one's just boring.
Yeah.
It's boring.
I don't know.
This is like this one walked. This one crawled. Sorry, this one crawled so the next one could walk.
I would have more said this one stood so the other one could walk.
I mean, yeah. Same difference. But yeah. Oh, also Chris Evans as the Human Torch is really great.
Yeah, I like what they do with the Thing.
I do like what they do with the Thing. The prosthetics are really restrictive. Like they're clearly really restrictive, so he can't do a whole ton. And like when he grabs stuff, it's really like they don't look like real hands. Like they look like a rubber hand, or not rubber, foam.
Still better than he was in Fan Four Stick.
We'll get there. We'll get to it. We're gonna get there. Don't worry.
So did it reboot the franchise?
It did. Yeah, there's at least one sequel, and they were gonna do a third one. They didn't, but they were gonna.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So do you have anything else to say about this one?
No, that's all I had to say about that one. I got more to say about Fan Four Stick.
That's
Spoiler
fair.
alert! It's coming. Don't worry.
So, I presume I can continue.
Yeah, I gotta go.
My next one is so I did one Spider-Man, and then I was like, you know what? That's not enough. Let's do Spider-Man Homecoming as well, where they yet again brought in a different Spider-Man who wasn't Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire.
They tried to reboot it a third time because the second one bombed horribly. Well, no, it did bomb. It made okay money, and then when stuff doesn't make $1 billion, then companies cancel them.
I think this is probably still to this day. I mean, I love No Way Home, but just in terms of singular solo Spider-Man movies, I think this is still my favorite.
It's the best Spider-Man movie.
It's the best live action one, certainly.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's the best. I think it's the best Spider-Man movie because I don't think I know where you're going with this. I don't think Across the Universe. I don't think the Across the Spider-Verse are Spider-Man movies. I think they're movies, but I think they're movies about Spider-Man. I don't think they're Spider-Man movies.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. This is a rapid fire. We don't have time to deep dive into this one. But what I will say is that in this one, I do take slight issue in the fact that there's too much Iron Man.
I do agree with that.
I don't love that. I get what they were going for, but I
hate the tech suit. I will forever hate the tech suit. I hate it. Don't bring it back for Spider-Man 4. Let him have a basic suit. I hate the tech suit.
I hate it in the ones going forward because the end of this one is him rejecting the Iron Spider suit because he's not ready. So then, in my opinion, instead of ending up with the first iteration of the tech suit that he ends up with, that's where he should have ended up with just a normal cloth suit because he's like, I'm not ready for that one yet. I have to go do my own thing before I kind of work up to doing that. And instead they end up with the suit that he had in the beginning, which is still like got 10,000 web shooters in it. It's still too much tech for his first suit.
I just think
they should have like the point in this one was that he wasn't ready for all of that, right? He needed to be an on the ground thing.
Yeah.
So the end of it should have been him in just a normal cloth suit, being like, just generally, I don't need your tech right now, Mr. Stark. I'm not ready for it.
To be fair,
and then lead up to him getting that stuff, so that when Tony Stark then ends up like dying, then he can get all that tech stuff and have it be like, okay, maybe now I'm ready to begin starting to use it.
The thing is,
and build up to it.
The thing is that at the end of that movie, they're like, oh, no tech stuff, no Iron Spider suit, and then the next movie he's in, he immediately puts it on. So it means literally nothing.
I know.
And he has all the tech going into that, so him having the upgrades, it means nothing. It's meaningless.
I know, that's... I'm saying I don't like that.
So I don't... no tech for Homecoming. He should have had no tech. There should have been no tech in his suit in Homecoming. And then at the end of Homecoming, and the movie should have been about him thinking he needs tech, is what it is. He should have been like, oh, I'm friends with Iron Man. I need Iron Man shit. And then instead of it being Chitauri tech, all of the tech should have been Rogue Stark tech. And it should have been he tries to upgrade his suit and he fucks up. The point where he fucks up should have been him trying to use tech and he finding out he doesn't need it. And then the moral of the movie should have been he doesn't need tech. So then when it comes time to give him the techie suit in Infinity War, that's a big deal narratively because we're like, oh, he's rejected tech. Thanos must be such a big deal. He now needs tech. So then, yeah, this Iron Spider suit is actually cool.
I mean, I agree with most of that. I do think that him having a little bit of tech in this one, wasn't inherently a bad thing because that was the point they were driving at, was that he didn't need the tech. Iron Man very specifically is like, if you're nothing without it, then you're nothing with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, but
So like him learning that lesson in this movie isn't bad to me. What's bad to me is then going forward in the next two movies, him having tech anyway undercuts the message that they set up in this one. It should have been he starts with it because Tony thinks that he can upgrade him like any other piece of tech that he has, and he's like, no, this is a person. This is like Spider-Man is like, no, I'm a person, I'm a kid, and ends up realizing he doesn't need the tech, and then going forward doesn't have the tech.
But that doesn't work. Because we've never seen because we haven't seen a version of this Spider-Man without the tech. He starts off with the tech. He doesn't start off with nothing. Yes,
exactly.
They say he does.
So that's my point. That's my point is that it should have been that like Tony Stark is trying to influence him too much, thinking that he can upgrade him. And no, he doesn't need that upgrade.
It doesn't.
And then the point of the movie is Peter learning that no, he's better off without it.
Right, but you can accomplish that without teching him up. You can accomplish that without teching him up in this movie. You can have it where, like I said, you have it where he's trying to tech up. Have it where he does have a basic cloth suit the whole movie.
I don't
and he's
think
trying
you
to
can.
tech up.
I don't
that
think
be
you
the
can
plot
do
of the
that.
movie.
I don't think you can do that because the way that they brought Spider-Man into the MCU was with Iron Man. Because you've attached him to such a techie character, you can't have him start off without tech. You have to have him being brought in by Tony Stark, being teched up, and Peter rejecting it on his own.
No,
that's what you have to do.
You absolutely can have a mentor without teching him up. You have it. You still have it where
not if it's Iron Man.
Yes, you have it where Tony still gives him the new cloth suit, and don't have it where it has all the bells and whistles in it.
But Tony Stark is never going to do that.
Right.
Tony Stark is always going to put tech in.
No.
So it has to be Peter that rejects it.
Let me finish. You have it where the suit itself doesn't have bells and whistles in it, but it's still high tech. Have it where it's made out of a high tech fiber, or have it where the there's tech in the goggles, because he drew real attention to the goggles and that the goggles were necessary, but they never bring that plot point up or mention it ever again. Have it where there's tech in the glasses. Have it where the suit itself is the tech, but it doesn't have additional tech. So have it where it's like, oh, it's made out of and then have it where it looks like, basically have it where it starts off where he's still wearing the sweatshirt hooded version of the suit, and the regular Spider-Man suit is have it where Tony's like, oh, it's a high polymer whatever the fuck made out of a high tech lens.
You were never going to get that if you were bringing him in with Tony Stark.
No, but that's the point. Is what I'm saying is you can have it where it's a technologically advanced suit.
Yeah, but Tony Stark doesn't half measure things. He would always have given him the version that he gave him, which is an up the wazoo upgraded version.
Again,
the thing that you have to do at that point is have Peter reject it, which they did in the Iron Spider suit. But what I'm saying is that that's not enough. He needed to reject it all.
But
go back to the cloth suit.
No, it doesn't. For me, no tech in that suit works ever. It doesn't work. It completely undercuts.
The way that they brought him in, it always had to be.
No, because you can accomplish what you're saying without tech. You can, and
yeah, sure, but you can't if you're having Tony Stark be the one that brings him in.
Yes, you can. Because
no,
you can't. You could still convey because you could have a high tech suit that's made by Tony Stark that doesn't have bells and whistles in it. And yes, you absolutely can make it.
No, you can.
Yes, you can.
You can't.
You absolutely can.
You can't.
You absolutely can.
Can't. We're gonna have to agree to disagree on this.
You absolutely can. Because again,
you cannot. Not with the version of Tony Stark that they have. No, you can't.
Yes, you can. You can have
you can't.
You can have it where the tech that he's put into the suit doesn't include the bells and whistles.
But it never would do that. The Tony Stark that they've set up would always put in the bells and whistles. The version that you're talking about doesn't exist.
Yeah, but he does.
No, he doesn't.
But he does, because you can absolutely have it.
No, he doesn't. You go and look at his suit, and the fact that he's made 50,000 different suits by Iron Man 3. Yeah, no, he was always going to put those bells and whistles in, Justin.
Again, he doesn't have to. That's what I'm saying.
He always would.
No, he wouldn't.
The version that they made of him would always have put those in. So the way that you needed to do it, if you were going to get to the non-techie side of things, is you have to have Peter Parker reject it.
Again, it just doesn't. Again, that character doesn't work with tech. He never will. He never
You're
will.
right.
He never will.
You're right, and that's why I'm saying they
He never
needed to
will.
be done with it by the end of that first movie.
No, I don't.
That needed to be the point of that movie, is to show up and set up that he doesn't need the tech.
Right,
So you
but-
needed to have it basically follow the same plot line, where he gets to the point where Tony is like, if you aren't anything without it, then you're not anything with it. Takes it away, and that's it. Peter doesn't get it back.
Or conversely, you make it where, I mean, how, again, you can absolutely do it where Tony Stark does it nuts and bolts it up it. You have it where he's basically like, the whole point of the movie is you're not me. Like, that's why he didn't he would. You absolutely, because that is the point. That is the point of that movie in its concept, is that Tony Stark is like, you need to stay to the, I mean, ultimately him balancing up,
and so that's why. That's why I'm saying
it doesn't.
He ends up taking the suit away in the movie for that exact reason.
Right.
So they always needed to have him start in that suit so that he could lose the suit, so that he could learn that he doesn't need the suit. That's the overarching message of the movie.
What I'm saying, though, is...
So then I'm saying that instead of them giving him back the suit and completely undercutting their own message, they needed to not do that.
Right, but you can still accomplish what the lesson you're trying to teach without the tech. You can accomplish that.
Not with that version of Tony Stark being the one that brings him in.
Right, but you can. No, yes, you can, because you can make it.
No,
where
you can't. Justin.
You keep cutting me off before you let me finish. You can, because all you do is you just have it where that's the point, where you have it where Tony Stark did it bells and because him putting in bells and whistles undercuts and undercuts his message in that movie. If his message was that he wanted Peter to be a down-to-earth, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, why did he put the bells and whistles in there in the first place? And if you're going to be like, hold on, let me finish. If you're going to be like, oh, he put the training wheels protocol on there for when he was ready, don't put the tech in there in the first place, then you wouldn't need a training wheels protocol. So what I'm saying is the point of the movie could be that Tony Stark is like, I could have upgraded you. I could have put bells and whistles in there, but I chose not to because I want you to be a down-to-earth, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Hold on, let me finish. And the point of the movie could be, instead of having it where Ned helps him break the training wheels protocol, you have it where and instead of having it be, and this would also fix another major issue with your movie, which is timeline, right? There's that whole, like, he's stealing Chitauri tech. Have it where he's stealing, and it conflicts with the climax of that movie of them breaking into a Stark Tower. Have it where he's robbing Stark tech. Have it where the all this shit is coming from Stark tech, and Peter tries to upgrade the suit and tries to add the bells and whistles himself and tries to turn it into an Iron Man suit, and he fucks up and it blows up in his face, like in the boat section. Instead of having it where he fails to whatever, have it where he tries to make an Iron Man suit and it fails, and then same lesson, Tony Stark shows up and is like, clearly you're not ready to be a superhero, and still takes the suit, and you still learn the lesson. Like, you could still teach the lesson, and it would be believable, and it still matches up with the version of the character that exists in that movie.
May I speak now?
Yes.
The reason why they can't do that is because they are also giving Tony Stark an arc in this movie, and the thing is that the version of Tony Stark that you're describing is the version that we see in Endgame, which is the version where he's learned the consequences of his actions at that point and has learned how to be a parent. He's not a parent in this. He's not treating Peter like a kid. He's treating him like a colleague. He's treating him like an equal.
But he's not.
But he's not. He is.
But he's not.
He is.
No,
yes,
he's not.
He is.
Then why?
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. He's treating him like a
yes,
kid.
Yes, he is.
He's not treating him
he's
like
not.
a colleague. That's the whole point
he's
of that movie.
He's not treating him like a kid. He's treating him like an employee, like a person that's an intern.
Absolutely not. You're completely misreading
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Then why put the training wheels protocol on there, Jordan? Why?
Because he's an intern.
No, he put the training wheels protocol. Why call it the training wheels protocol?
He's viewing him as an intern would, someone who's training to be in the position that you're in.
You put training Jordan. You put training wheels on a child's bicycle. On a child's bicycle.
But the point that I'm making is that at this point in the timeline, he doesn't know how to be a dad. He didn't have a dad. He's doing what he thinks a dad would do, but he's not a dad.
Right.
Whereas by the time we get to the Endgame part, he is in that father role because he actually has a kid. So he would never, at that point, put the tech in. But at this point, he does.
No, but again, no, but whether or not he does put the tech, what I'm saying is for the purposes of this film,
He would not, and he wouldn't do what you're describing.
He
He's
would,
not
though.
at that point.
He
No,
would.
he wouldn't.
He would.
No, he wouldn't.
He
No,
would.
he wouldn't.
Yes, he would.
He's not at that point in his timeline.
He absolutely is.
No, he wouldn't.
No, okay, he is for how they are portraying him in this movie. He is absolutely treating Peter like he's a child. He's not giving him the respect, because if he wasn't treating him like a child, he would have given him, or he did see him as a colleague, or he did see him as an employee, he would have given him the consideration and respect to communicate to him, but he doesn't. He dismisses him constantly because he sees him as a child. He sees him as a kid who is not ready for the responsibilities of being a superhero, of being an Avenger yet. That's why he has the training wheels are typically put on a child's bicycle. So he thinks of him as a child.
Sure, he thinks of him as an intern who is a part of their company. He's still thinking in terms of business.
No,
Yes,
not.
he is.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. That's why
not.
Yes, he is. That's why by the end of it, he's willing to actually bring him. He wasn't lying about there being press people behind the door. He was going to bring him on as a full-on member of the Avengers and upgrade him from being an intern to a full member.
Absolutely, but regardless,
he does not think of him as a child.
Yeah,
he thinks of him as an intern.
He calls him the kid. He says the kid.
Yeah, he thinks
the kid.
That's what you would call an intern.
No, he absolutely sees him. You're right. He doesn't see him. No, see, that's the thing, is you're not differentiating the idea of seeing him as his son versus seeing him as a kid. Yes, you're right. By the end of Endgame, he absolutely sees Peter Parker as his son. But at that point, no, he treats him as though he's a teenager, as though he's a stupid kid.
Yeah, he treats him like an intern.
No, like a kid. He treats him like
an intern.
A kid.
An intern.
A kid. You're splitting
like
hair.
An intern.
The point is, no, you don't.
A person who is training to fill the position that you will eventually put him into.
The point is, though, what you're saying can absolutely, with the ideas that you're trying to convey.
Training wheel program
is a snarky.
Tony Stark is a snarky character. Training Wheels program is a snarky Tony Stark way of saying training. Like he's training him.
He absolutely, the tech did not need to be there. You could accomplish the same story with the exact same story beats.
I disagree.
You can absolutely accomplish it without the
tech.
Not
if it's with Tony
Spider-Man
Stark.
should have never had tech. Like that is
not if it's with Tony Stark.
Absolutely. And there's plenty of, and the point is, by the time it's not an upgrade, if it begins, there's nowhere for it to go if you start with tech. Right? There's no way for.
That's why I'm agreeing. That's why I'm agreeing with you that by the point where he loses it in the movie, he needs to lose it and shouldn't get it back. I'm just saying, in order for that point to have punch, in order for him to have lost something, he needed to have something.
The only way your version of the story works,
and then it makes it more impactful when 3 movies later he has earned the right to have it.
It has no impact because we've never seen a Spider-Man without tech in this universe.
Yes, we would have, because then in the second and third movie he wouldn't have tech.
But the point I'm making, Jordan, is you're missing the point. The point is, in order for him having tech to work narratively, there needs to be a moment in the narrative where he doesn't have tech. And he begins...
No, there doesn't.
Yes, there does.
No, there doesn't, Justin, because the point of the first movie could have been that he's not ready for it. But the training wheels get taken off and he doesn't know what he's doing. So no, the point is that he didn't have tech at that point and he got it before he was ready and then he has it taken away.
But again, we've never seen
it works perfectly well.
But it doesn't, because we've never seen a Spider-Man.
You're starting to piss me off.
Again, you've never seen a Spider-Man without tech in this universe. You've never seen a Spider-Man without tech.
Exactly, and so he fails with it the second that he has it.
No, but there's no point of reference to him not having it, right? We never see a regular version of Spider-Man in this universe. We never see a regular version. We only ever see the Tony Stark. The reason why Tony Stark up version of Spider-Man works in the comics is because you've had 20 years of Spider-Man just being regular Spider-Man. That doesn't happen here. You're letting your knowledge of your pre-existing knowledge of your character impact your knowledge of the movie. The movie is taking advantage of the fact that you know that Spider-Man's not supposed to have tech, right? It's taking advantage of that. But within the context of the universe, the character doesn't know that. We don't know that. We've never seen this version of Spider-Man without tech. So to see him get upgraded it's meaningless because it's not an upgrade. It's just the default state of the character. So what I'm saying is Spider-Man is not a techie character. The only time it ever works with Spider-Man is that the only version of a teched up Spider-Man that works is the one in the Marvel games. And that's because he's been Spider-Man for 10 years and he's earned that. He's earned having those gadgets. This Spider-Man hasn't. And so it just doesn't work. The narrative story device of being like, oh, he's not capable of having these gadgets doesn't work, because if there was a previous Spider-Man movie where he didn't know Tony Stark, then this would work. But it doesn't work because he begins from a point of privilege and you never see him lack that privilege. Is my point.
But it does for me. Okay, it does work because Tom Holland portrays a young Spider-Man. If you had it where it was an Andrew Garfield or a Tobey Maguire and he appeared to be older, then you're right, it wouldn't work. But he comes across as a young, inexperienced kid, and if you had worked it a little bit where whenever he tries to use the tech, he's bad with it, then yes, I think it absolutely would have worked. The way they did it, it didn't work.
But again,
I think I disagree. I think there is a version of this where it is workable,
No.
especially if you have it where halfway through the movie he has it taken away and he goes back to being the techless Spider-Man, and then you make it in the movie where he's stronger as a result of it and he's better at it. Then yes, I absolutely think that gets the point across that he is stronger without the tech than he is with it.
A young Spider-Man.
I think you're quite frankly biased in the other direction. You're not willing to even entertain a world where this works because you hate it.
No, it doesn't work.
So this is a pointless conversation.
It doesn't work in this movie. There's no version of this movie
Yes,
there's no version
there
of
is.
this universe that works with the techie Spider-Man. It just doesn't.
Yes, there is.
No, okay, no, that's not true.
The one that I've described does work.
No,
Maybe it doesn't work for you because you're biased. But it works.
The only version of a teched up Spider-Man that works in this universe with the way they've constructed it is if they did a Spider-Man movie previously where he was just goggles, sweatshirt Spider-Man.
Again, you're completely ignoring everything that I've said.
No, because it doesn't work.
Yes, it does work.
No, because again,
you need to be clear here. It doesn't work for you.
It doesn't work in this movie.
But it does work.
Not in this movie.
Yes, it does.
No.
Yes, it does.
Because again, we've never seen a previous version of Spider-Man.
We don't need to.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
In order to make the point that
Justin.
Yes, especially if it's
we're gonna have to agree to disagree.
Especially if it's starting.
We could talk about this for hours.
But
we have to agree to disagree.
Hold on, let me finish. Even if you come from a starting point, if this is meant to be, that's the question of this, right? Is this meant to be a starting point, a new starting point for this franchise? It's the same thing of in Batman versus Superman having a Batman who kills. It doesn't work in that universe because you've never seen a version of a Batman that doesn't kill. So it's taking for granted that you know, as an audience member, that Batman doesn't kill. But the movie has not, and the universe itself has not articulated that this version of Batman has never killed. It's the same thing with Spider-Man. They've never demonstrated that there's a version of this character that could be competent without tech. So the minute you introduce him as being that, it doesn't work. It works if there's a first movie where he's in a regular Spider-Man suit and we upgrade. It's why the tech doesn't work moving forward, because he began his life as a teched up character. It's why it doesn't work. So ultimately, the notion of him being teched up doesn't work here. Like if it would work if in Endgame, Tony Stark gave him the Iron Man suit and he hadn't been, or if it worked where he wasn't teched up this entire movie and he was trying to be teched up, and the entire point of it was he couldn't tech himself up properly, and then at the end Tony Stark gives him the Iron Spider suit or offers it to him and he goes, oh no, I don't actually need this, I've discovered that I'm good enough on my own, then the lesson lands harder. Like, you're right, it is a sort of retroactive thing of like going forward, it doesn't work going forward, but the starting point is flawed. The starting point of having him be teched up from the beginning is flawed. Now, if you want to do it where he begins,
that's where I say my version does work. Where you have it where he's wearing it like he is in this. He unlocks the training mode and he's really bad at it, just like he is in this. You have it where he's not able to use the tech, like not able to. to the point where like you have a scene with him where he's with a common criminal and the common criminal gets away because he cannot use the tech. You avidly display that he is not able to use the tech, so that then when he loses the tech and goes back to being in a normal suit, you have multiple scenes where he is then competent and good and able to do his job and doesn't need the tech. And then going forward at the end of the movie, he's offered the tech full time and he rejects it, going like, no, Mr. Stark, I actually discovered along the way that I was better without the tech. And then he going forward in the next movies does not have the tech. It absolutely works. You just don't like it.
It just doesn't. Him having the tech from maybe if it's a thing of like he gets tech midway through the movie and it improves.
You're not
the suit.
listening to me.
I am.
The point is that he starts the movie with it on the training wheel program where he doesn't have any of the tech. Like he doesn't. It's just in the suit, and he doesn't have access to it. And then he unlocks it, and it's bad with it, and goes back to not using it. It absolutely works, Justin.
But no, because that's the same. What you're describing is what already happens in the movie. That is literally exactly what happens. He discovers he doesn't know that there's a training wheels program.
No,
he discovers
it's not what
it.
Happens.
He fails with it.
At the end of it, he continues to use the way to advance suit.
No, but what I'm saying is
I'm saying no, none of that. He doesn't do that.
But what you're saying is it's the same thing, except for at the end he rejects the tech, which he theoretically does anyway because he's like, I'm too.
Doesn't.
Well, no, because the end of that movie.
Doesn't reject it. He still gets that suit back and he ends up putting it back on. That's not rejecting the tech. Rejecting the tech would be he ends up in the suit that he ends up in at the end of No Way Home where it has no tech and it's just cloth. That's rejecting the tech. That's what I'm saying. He ends the movie in that suit, and going forward in the next movies, that's the suit he's in, so that by the time we get to the end of Endgame where he maybe starts to have technology, it actually means something because perhaps he has built it himself.
Yeah, it's just no. There's no version of him. There's no version of him.
It would work had he actually rejected the tech.
I think it works better if the suit starts from a place of being techless, and
sure, but I'm working under the assumption that he's being brought in by Iron Man, and that's not gonna happen.
Again, in all the ways that I described it absolutely
Justin.
would. If you bring it in,
not with this version of Iron Man.
If you bring it in and you make it where the entire idea of the suit is that it is technologically advanced. Like you have it where that's where Tony Stark's ego is. You have it where it is technologically advanced. It just doesn't have like instant kill mode or like 1,000 web shooter options or like
that wouldn't happen.
I mean, look, I'm willing to accept a heads up display. Like, I'm willing to accept a heads-up display, but no, none of the... Like, again, I'm not saying it can't be tech. I'm saying no bells and whistles. No bells and whistles. And no
that was
access
never going to happen.
Yes, it absolutely could happen. It could. Whether or not it would or would not, it could happen. With that version of that character, yes, it could. Because it
couldn't.
You're right. The suit building is a display of ego for Tony Stark. So, it doesn't have to be... Again, it having all those bells and whistles in there... And then the point of the movie being him being like, you're not ready for this. Why put them in there? Because if it was anything of
because it's Tony Stark and he's 90% ego.
No, but what I'm saying is
he hasn't learned the lesson yet.
No, but if he's trying to teach a lesson, he could have added them later. Like he could have put in those features later.
He could have, but this version of Tony Stark was never going to do that.
No, but again, I'm working with what's in the script, right? And this is what they want this character to do, and it doesn't work with how they've set it up. The storyline that they're trying to do doesn't work with the version of the character. With if you prefer, your idea of the character doesn't mesh with how he's written in this movie. If you prefer, if you want to say that Tony Stark has been written badly in the movie, fine. I will agree with you. But the version as he is written in that movie, it does not make any sense for him to add bells and whistles, and it makes the movie worse. It makes that character worse, and it doesn't make any sense for that. And I'm not. I think we both know I'm not against teched up Spider-Man because I love the Marvel version. That's the most ideal version. Spider-Man should never start from having tech. He should start from nothing. And they want to shortcut it.
You're right. But they brought him in using Tony Stark, so he was always going to be teched up.
No, but again,
that's what this version of Tony Stark does.
I think we need to differentiate because your version of teched up is not the same version as me. Like clearly, What I'm saying is not that he shouldn't be not teched up. No bells and whistles. That's the difference. You can be teched up and not have bells and whistles. That's what I'm saying. And he is. He is.
But if
he is
Tony
for the
Stark,
first half of this movie.
Tony Stark is making the weapons, making the suit, he's absolutely going to put the bells and whistles in.
No, because again,
Yes.
No, he wouldn't, because it doesn't.
Yes, he would.
It conflicts with the idea of what he's trying to accomplish in this movie. It doesn't make any sense for him to put in the bells and whistles and then put a block on them. It doesn't make any sense. It's illogical. If you were just going to block him from having this anyway, why put in those options for him to discover? I mean, I know why. It's to create conflict in the movie, but it doesn't make any sense. And you can still have that conflict that they want, which is him discovering that he's not ready for Iron Man tech. But like I said, just
I mean, you want an in-universe reason? It's a test. He knew that he would be able to hack it, and he wanted Peter to prove that he wouldn't.
No, I mean, honestly, the in-universe thing is he didn't think Peter. He didn't. It's all part of the whole theme of it, which is that Tony Stark is not taking Spider-Man seriously or respecting him, or at least Spider-Man is perceiving that. I get what they're going for. I'm just saying it doesn't work with the version of the character that they've written. It just doesn't.
I disagree.
And it's accomplishable. That's my thing. It only requires a slight tweak, and it's fixable.
Yeah. The one that I gave.
No. Again. No.
Yes.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't work because.
Yes, it does.
And it's just
with the version that I gave. Yes, it does.
No, because again.
Yes, it does.
Him having him.
We could go around and round in circles on this, Justin. We don't have all day. My version works.
But it doesn't. It doesn't work.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't work.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't work.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. What's your next pick?
I mean, or if you prefer mine's better.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. What's your next pick?
Okay. Or if you prefer mine's better.
Yes, it does. What's your next pick?
But here's the thing that drives me crazy though is mine is what we both want. We want all the tech out of that boy's suit. So I don't understand why you're fighting me on this.
Because I'm trying to create a version within the realm of what they would have actually done.
No, again, what I want is accomplishable with the version of the character they have.
Sure, but it's not what they were going to do.
But again,
they were always going to put the tech in because he was brought in by Iron Man.
But my
and
point is,
they, regardless of what we wanted, they wanted to highlight that and bring them closer together so they could have Iron Man show up in this Spider-Man movie.
Right, but my point is they can still do that and have him be techless.
But they were never going to, it's a moot point.
No, but it's not a moot point. It's not a moot point.
Yes, it is.
It's not a moot point.
So I'm trying to fix the movie based on the elements that we already have. Yes, it is fixing the movie.
No, it's not, because the problem is still there. He still has tech. That's the problem.
Right, but by the end of it, he loses it, and he becomes the Spider-Man we love.
Right, but
having learned the lesson that tech is not for him. He's not Iron Man.
We could still learn the tech. We could still learn the lesson with a version of Iron Man that is consistently written, with a version that is in the movie currently that is consistently written. And again, my point is
we couldn't.
Yes, you can.
The version that we have in the movie would always have put the bells and whistles.
No,
in.
He wouldn't. No, again,
yes,
he would not. No,
yes, he would.
No, I'm saying the version of Iron Man that you're talking about would, but the version as he's written in the movie, it doesn't make any sense for him to. It doesn't. It
absolutely does.
It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
It absolutely does.
It does. If the lesson is to teach him that he's not ready, there are better ways to do it. And what's frustrating, the reason why this is frustrating me.
But Tony's an idiot.
But the thing that's frustrating me is my way is the way we both want. I don't understand why you're fighting me on this. It's what we both want. We both want the tech out of it, and it's completely logical, and it completely makes sense, and it's completely doable.
It doesn't work with the version of Tony that they have created it in the MCU.
Well, but it does. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It absolutely does. Especially consistent with the version of Tony they set up at the end of Civil War, which is that he's the one who is like taking responsibility and wants to manage everything. So yeah, it makes sense that he would put in he
also doesn't want to watch another kid die, so he wants to give him as much tech as he can and put an armor around the world.
Right, but that conflicts with him being, you're not ready to be an Avenger. Again, that conflicts with the idea that he thinks that Spider-Man isn't ready.
Yeah, the point is supposed to be that he's trying to be a dad and he has no idea how to do it.
But again, you can have it where where instead of
So his first instinct is to have the gun in the bedside, the bedside drawer, when really that's not the best thing. He wants to put 15,000 guns in Peter's armor when he doesn't need it. He
Yeah.
was always going to put his armor around the world.
no, doesn't work. Doesn't work for me. Doesn't work. And the thing that's frustrating me,
I want to be clear here. It doesn't work for me
and
either.
it's fixable.
But
That's
I'm
my
trying.
thing.
But I'm trying to fix the thing that we
Yeah,
got,
yeah, but-
not make a new thing that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but I'm also fixing the thing we got, and I'm fixing it
No,
in a
you're-
way.
no,
I
you're
am.
not.
And it is completely fixable.
The thing we got is a Spider-Man movie where he had tech. You're not fixing that. You're just getting rid of the tech.
Yes, but
That's not
fixing it. Fixing it is getting rid of the tech.
That's not working with the constraints that we are finding ourselves in,
No,
which is that he has tech.
The constraint is to leave it largely the same movie and cut out the tech. I'm saying we could
Yeah,
it would
but
be
but
the
you
exact
can't.
same. But no, the thing I am trying to do. That's the thing that I don't get here is we don't want the tech. Why are you trying to keep in the tech? We don't want the tech. The purpose of the exercise.
Because I think the character needs to learn that he doesn't need the tech.
No, but okay.
So you need to have him have the tech so that by the end of the movie he learns that he doesn't need the tech.
That's why I'm not dropping this, because you're not listening to me. I have created a version of this in which he still learns the lesson that he doesn't need the tech without the tech.
But he was never going to have a suit that Tony Stark built that didn't have tech.
No, but he could. No, but again, you're splitting hairs on what is tech. I'm not even talking about just tech. It could be a technologically advanced suit. It can be. Absolutely. It can have tech in it. It could the goggles can have mechanics in it. The skin could be like state of the art fucking polymer latex suit that like adheres to his skin perfectly. Like yeah, that's fine. That's what I'm, like yes, absolutely Tony Stark would, like for example, in Batman Begins, that is technically a technologically advanced suit, but he's not shooting batarangs out of, he doesn't have an HD, you know what I mean? Like that's the type of shit I'm talking. He doesn't have an AI voice. Like that's the type of shit I'm talking about. I'm not talking about
but Tony Stark was always going to put that in.
But again, narratively you can write it where he wouldn't and it would totally make sense.
You can't, not with the version that they have of him.
Yes, you can, because again,
No,
this is what I mean when I say you're not listening. You're not listening to me. Because the notion of Tony Stark is that he wants to make something technologically advanced that he can brag about. And he still can do that without putting the extra shit. There's too much extra shit. Like, that's the point here. And the story still works without the extra shit. And then you can make it where the point of the movie is he keeps trying to add the extra shit. Like he's trying to add a Jarvis. He's trying to add a Karen. He's trying to add like the 1,000 types of webs. And he's trying to add that onto a suit that doesn't have that. And that's the point of it. So that when we get to it, when we get to Iron Man, then he does get Karen. He does get that stuff.
But the studio
That's the stuff I'm talking about.
The studio execs were never going to let that happen. They always were going to look at it and go like, he's not Iron Man-y enough.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying what I'm talking about.
So I'm saying I'm trying to fix the movie that the studio execs are demanding will happen. He will have those bells and whistles. The point is that he needs to lose it by the end of the movie and not get it back.
I mean, I don't disagree. Obviously, I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying, that I think that's where we need to, and then I promise we'll wrap this up. This has gone on for way too long, but it's been a fascinating conversation.
The end result that we both want is the same. We want him to not have the suit. It's the hero's journey that he takes to get there that we are differentiating and splitting hairs on.
I just think it's accomplishable. It's not that I think. It is accomplishable. You can accomplish the same story, identically the same story, just by changing a few minor details and remove the tech.
Here's what I'll say. I agree. The writers absolutely could and probably did write a version that was like that. But the studio execs that want him to be like Iron Man so that they can bank off the fact that he's like Iron Man, we're never going to let that happen.
Here's my final point on it. You hate that he's Iron Boy? My version fixes that while keeping it exactly the same movie. Like, I didn't even change the bad guy. Like, the scenes are identical. All it is instead of being Chitauri gear, it's Iron Man tech. And it fixes a shit ton of plot holes in that movie.
I don't disagree with you, and there's definitely ways that you could write it. You and I have sat down and written out other much more broken franchises before. So absolutely, especially with the power of hindsight, it is fixable. but I'm trying to largely keep it the same
No.
and still make it fun.
I mean, mine
And
is exactly the same. It's just he doesn't have the
it's
bells and
not
whistles.
because you are changing the fundamental nature of what Tony Stark is.
I'm not though.
But
I'm not
you
changing.
are.
I'm not changing
You
the
are.
fundamental nature
You
of Tony
are.
Stark at all.
You are.
I'm not.
You are.
I'm not. Because
You are.
he's still making a
Because he was always going to put in those bells and whistles.
No, he was always going to make a technologically advanced suit that showed off.
Always going to put in those bells and whistles.
No, especially if
Yes, he would.
Again, no, especially if the point of this movie is that he thinks he's a kid, right? No, it doesn't. All the like instant kill mode, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't.
That's
make
why it was
any
on
sense.
training wheels mode.
Right, but it doesn't make any sense for him to put
So the point that he then
mode
hacks into and gets access to shit that he is not ready for and fails at, has it taken away and doesn't get the suit back.
Right. But that all those modes are in there to facilitate him to having the suit taken away, so he learns the lesson that he needs to be regular Spider-Man. You can still teach that lesson by having it be where he's trying to build his own Iron Man suit. He's trying to turn his Spider-Man suit into an Iron Man suit. So then he learns that he doesn't need that stuff. He still learns that lesson of having to not need that stuff.
When did this takes place? Just after Civil War. If this was before Civil War and Captain America and them were still around, then yes, I absolutely see a version of this movie where Iron Man goes to puts the bells and whistles in, and Captain America's like, "No, Tony, he's not ready for that yet." And we get that version that you're talking about, where it's a more restrained version, still built by Tony Stark, but without the bells and whistles. If he has a voice of conscience, absolutely, I see that version.
Here's the thing, though. I don't blame.
With him being off the rails and not having anybody to talk him down.
Here's the thing, though. And
Tony Stark wasn't going to put those in.
Here's the thing. Those bells and whistles, not in Civil War.
I mean, they might have been. He didn't hack the suit.
Right, but no, he did have the suit. He gets the suit in that movie.
I said he didn't hack the suit.
No, but he had some.
He didn't get all those bells and whistles until he hacked the suit.
No, but he had some of the bells and whistles at the start.
Not all of them.
No, but he had some of them.
Yeah, but not all of them.
No, but my point is there are no bells and whistles in Civil War.
Like he didn't have the suit lady until he hacked the suit.
No, but you're missing my point. My point is in Civil War there are no bells and whistles. So your point that Tony Stark would never. We must assume that unless otherwise stated, there are no bells and whistles other than your basic web shooters.
No, we must assume that they do have them and that they didn't have time to show them because it wasn't a Spider-Man movie.
This is the ultimate problem with the Spider-Man movies is they're all written by different people, and so he's a different character movie to movie.
You're not wrong.
He's a completely different character movie to movie. So the version of him that the Russo and it's not helped by the fact that. Like the John Watts and the Russo brothers wrote him completely differently, and he's in 2 Russo brother movies and 3 Russo brother movies, and the 3 John Watts movies. So it's like they're written completely differently. So yeah, clearly the Russo brothers saw it our way, and we're like, yeah, it's just a regular Spider-Man suit. Like that, it's just a regular Spider-Man suit. And then John Watts was like, he needs to be Iron Man because that makes sense the most narratively, and he's wrong. All that to go back to the point of I still think this is the best Spider-Man movie. That's the one small thing I would change about it. It's still objectively the best one. I know I just did a bunch of negative shit about how much I hate.
We just did like a 30-minute or 40-minute rant on this. This will make for great long-form content.
Absolutely, yeah. It is absolutely going to be a YouTube video. Yeah, we're almost already pushing 2 hours, and it's our second rapid fire. This is going to be a long one. Third. Thank God the next 2 I don't have a shit ton to say about.
No, I mean, certainly not as much as I did about this.
I was kidding. The next one's Fan 4 Stick. No, I'm totally kidding. I only really have one thing to say about Fan 4 Stick, which is it doesn't have bad ideas. They're just badly executed. Like, I don't think the idea of like a Cronenberg like horror aesthetic version of the Fantastic Four is inherently a bad one. Like the notion that like being the Thing hurts. You're a man who's now covered in rocks, or like being the Human Torch, who is just all of a sudden you're just on fire. Like that would be a psychologically upsetting thing. Like and like the sequence where I've said this before. The best sequence in that movie is the one where Doctor Doom wakes up and he's walking down the hallway, and it's that one continuous shot of him blowing up all the guys' heads. Like, that's actually kind of a cool scene, and it feels like this was like a movie about like a bunch of people who go to like another dimension and they get like hit by like. It feels like it was a completely separate science fiction movie that they just kind of slapped Fantastic Four shit on. But no, I don't think it's devoid of good ideas. I just think it's one of those, like, it's not, it is a bad movie, but its idea is not necessarily a bad movie. It's just a badly executed movie. And I don't think The Thing looks bad, per se. Like,
I only watched the movie like once, and it wasn't very good, and I swore I would never do it again. But I remember liking that Doctor Doom scene.
Yeah, it's honestly like the best scene in the movie. It really is. It's the most interesting, and like, yeah, if they had leaned in more on like making it more scary and making it, but that huge studio interference on that one, right? Where it was like they went in, they were like, it needs to be more Fantastic Four like, and obviously there's the notorious. You can tell what the reshoots are based upon the wig. She has a wig, or she has a her hair, depending on which scene it is a completely different color, depending on the scene.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had to do a bunch of reshoots. There's the fact that Doctor Doom was originally going to be called Domashev, and you can tell it's been ADR'd in. Sorry, I'm stalling because there was another thing I was going to mention that I cannot remember. Nope.
Negative Zone?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's clearly based on the Ultimate Run, where they go to the negative zone instead of into space. Doctor Doom was originally going to be Silver Surfer. Galactus, apparently there's there's like a 2.5 hour version which they shot where when they go to the other dimension they run into Galactus, and it turns out that Doctor Doom is now Galactus's herald instead of the Silver Surfer.
Oh, that just sounds awful.
The stretch effect never looked good.
Did it reboot the franchise?
It did not. And the frustrating thing is when you hear of like all the ideas that were like that they had, you see all the concept art, you're like, man, this was gonna be a much better movie. It was made so that Fox can hold on to the rights. That's basically all it's. But it did lead to the newer reboot, the Fantastic Four with Pedro Pascal, which that'll be interesting.
Tentatively interesting,
but bad. Just a bad movie. What's your next rapid fire, Jordan?
My next rapid fire is I watched the start of the Monster Universe, the Godzilla 2014.
That movie's good.
The one with Heisenberg in it for not nearly enough time, though he was a big selling point.
Right. Someone thought they were clever. That's what I would say about that.
But it's good. It's fun. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's definitely been a while since I've seen that one. But
yeah, anytime people are like, I want the Godzilla Monsterverse to be more like the Japanese movies. That's the closest approximation you're ever going to get to a Japanese Godzilla movie in an American form.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I always love the let them fight scene because it makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, I mean, there's some genuinely like good cinematography in that movie, like genuinely.
It's an enjoyable movie.
The thing that the
and it's kind of when they still took it a little bit seriously before it descended into the silliness that it is now.
And look, I love the silliness. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
Who doesn't love a good silliness?
Right.
But no, it's Gareth Edwards, the guy who directed it. He's so good with scale. Like there's so many of my favorite shots in the franchise are in that movie. The one where the parachuters, the angel divers or whatever.
When they're diving down,
and it's all the smoke, and they're flying past Godzilla, and you just see Godzilla from like the side, and it's like all smoky and cloudy, and you just kind of see it's so cool, it's almost completely silent except for this like really intense building music as they're like diving. It's so good. Or where like the gates or whatever close, and they close just as you see Godzilla like roaring. It's so good. The fights are maybe not like super great, but
I mean they're pretty good for the time.
They're okay. They're not, I mean, it gets better. One of my favorites is when he kills the one Muto where he rips his head off, or he breathes the
breathes down and and he's holding the head in his
That's
hand
good.
as he walks. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good.
So, are you gonna ask me the question, bro?
I mean, Jordan, did it reboot a franchise?
Oh, it
Well, okay,
absolutely
okay.
did. And
Because I'm gonna change because I wait. Did you do his partner? Because I don't want no spoilers. You know his partner, is that a main pick? Is this your last rapid
that's
fire?
yeah, that's
Okay.
my last rapid fire is the Incredible Hulk.
Okay. So
But yes, that is one of my main ones.
here's I'm gonna change the parameters of did it reboot. Did it reboot the Godzilla franchise? Because I have a variant of that question for the other one.
Absolutely, I would say it did. It's still going strong, and I'm constantly excited for the next
You know what
ones
we didn't
that
talk
come out.
about? For some reason, I had it in my news items for when Jake was on the show, but it wasn't. Apparently, the guy who directed the last two is not coming back for the next one. Not for any malicious reasons. He just doesn't have time. He's working on something else. He wishes the guy and anyone who's going to take it over the best of luck, and he says he'll absolutely come back in the future. But he just can't do it. He can't commit to it, which I'm okay. I'm a little disappointed because I would have liked to have seen him close out his trilogy because he's only got to do two. I would have liked to see him do one more. But I'm also kind of okay with it because I'd like to see someone else,
Step into the ring.
yeah, and see what they do with it. Take a chance on it. Like, see,
Yeah.
like this is we've done silly Godzilla for a few movies now. Maybe we can go back to serious Godzilla again in America. I don't know. I don't think America's capable of it.
But yes, it did restart his, especially in America, because I don't think the Japanese one really needed rebooting.
No, not really. No.
But in America, it definitely rebooted him. And what's your next pick?
Well, it's funny you said Godzilla 2014, Jordan, because wait, no, actually, hold on.
I'm holding on.
I lied. Sorry. I'm sorry. I teed up the wrong thing. My last rapid fire is the movie that sort of launched this. It was the one that Jake went, like Star Trek 2009. Jordan, I watched Star Trek 2009, and I quite like that movie. It's one of those movies where I almost watched the second one because I forgot how much I liked that first one. It's really fun. It's a really fun movie.
I remember liking it. Time paradoxes aside.
Yeah, it really dumbs down Star Trek to an approachable level. But Jordan, ask me the question you want to ask me.
Did it reboot the franchise?
Yes, sort of. Yeah, it did because there's at least one other. There's two more movies, one bad and one good, and there's a prequel. So yes, but in terms of the question of is it a reboot, because it sort of takes place in the original universe, right? Because it's a splintering timeline, but it restarts everything because everyone starts off new. But it does kind of require you to have like sort of a knowledge of Star Trek. I kind of realized because when you actually pay attention to it, a big part of the plot is this history with the Romulans that it just kind of needs you to know. So like, and it kind of expects you to know that Spock is a big deal. So like, if you were to enter this movie not knowing anything about Star Trek really, and you didn't know who Spock was, you'd kind of be like, who's this Spock guy, and why is this Romulan so mad at him? This movie implies that there's this history that we've never seen. Like, so it's not super approachable in that regard, but in terms of it being kind of just a launching off point, it works. It's just like, it feels like I'm missing something.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I found with this.
It's been years since I've seen that first one, but I really remember liking it.
R.I.P. And that made me realize that R.I.P. Anton Yelchin. He's so good in it. He's just got so much energy. He's so fun. He's got some of my favorite lines. Weekter.
Also, R.I.P. Leonard Nimoy, right?
R.I.P. Leonard Nimoy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize. It's funny. It's so funny. I missed the bit at the end because I was like, oh, he doesn't go see young Spock because of timeline wibbly wobbly stuff, right? And then at the end, Kirk goes to him. He's like, "Nah, you could have." Oh no, it's Spock. He meets him and he's like, "Yeah, you could have met me, and you could have told me all this. Like, there's nothing hinky there." And he's like, "Yeah, but it wouldn't have been the same." And I was like, "Oh, I completely missed that." I always like because in the second one I was like, "Oh, how come he could talk to Prime Spock now?" Like I thought he couldn't for wibbly wobbly reasons. But I was like, no, they make the point like, no, Spock doesn't have any future knowledge. So him talking to his past self, it's not technically his past self. It's now technically an alternate universe.
It's an alternate version.
Yeah. So he absolutely can talk about him. Him telling him about the future, like it makes.
He tells him he could tell him about his future, but his future isn't his future.
Yeah.
It's now his other future.
That was the other bit of it that kind of was like it's sort of reliant on you because it's like, oh, things are different now, but it doesn't really tell you how they were before, really. So it's kind of reliant on you understanding or kind of having a passing knowledge of what the original Captain Kirk was like. To be like, oh, he's different now because he didn't grow up with a dad, so that's why he's like Chris Pine now instead of like William Shatner and.
I mean, I don't think that you necessarily need to have a knowledge of Star Trek per se. You do need to have a knowledge of how like multiverse.
Definitely,
works.
yeah, definitely. I don't think you need it, but I certainly would say it helps.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
The final thing. My final thing is Chris Hemsworth was in this. I completely forgot he was in it.
He was?
Yeah. It's his first movie. He's it's Cabin in the Woods, and then it's Thor. This is on his IMDb, in his filmography. I think it's like his second movie. I don't think it's actually his first, but it's one of his first.
Who does he play?
He's Kirk's dad.
He is?
Yeah, and what's really funny is this was before he got huge. Then he
is Chris's dad.
Yeah. So he does this. He gets huge, and so obviously now they want to do a Star Trek movie with Chris Hemsworth because he's huge. But fuck, he's dead. How do we do this? So for the longest time, they were going to do Star Trek 4. And it was going to be they kept coming up. Oh, Chris Hemsworth is in, Chris Pine is in, and it was going to be a team up movie with Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pine, and they were going to manufacture some way for Chris Pine to come back or Chris Hemsworth to come back.
That's funny.
And it was going to be Kirk and his dad team up.
That's very funny.
It never ended up happening, and now apparently they're going to do a prequel, which I think is funny. But that's my final rapid fire.
Okay, my last one is the Incredible Hulk, the Edward Norton one, before he was the current guy.
The one that the continuity of which was questionable for like 10 years. Is it in continuity or not, Marvel? You need to tell us. And then they told us. He was a totally different guy back then, Jordan.
It is in continuity. It happened. It was a thing that happened, and he used to be a different man.
He was a totally different guy back then, Jordan.
You know, he got control of his rage, and it was like he just transformed into a different person.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I really wish they'd make a Hulk movie, but that movie's kind of boring. Also, a lot of people don't like that movie. It's weird. Like that, people liked that movie when that came out, and then what's the word I'm looking for? Subsequent years, people have been kind of like, no, that one's bad, and I'm like, what? I don't think it's bad.
I don't mind it. I can see the argument in both directions. I don't really have strong feelings towards it either way, actually. For the longest time, I was like, I don't like I'm blanking on not the current Hulk.
Oh, Mark Ruffalo?
Yeah. For the longest time, I was like, I don't like him. I want the Edward Norton one back. And as I've gotten older and as time gone on, I kind of was like, you know what? I don't really like the Hulk, so I don't care who plays him.
It's funny. It's one of those characters where, first you're like, yeah, no, I wanted Edward Norton. And then you watch like 2 or 3 movies of Mark Ruffalo. You watch The Avengers, and then you go back and you watch the Edward Norton one, and you try to picture him in The Avengers, and you're like, yeah, no, it doesn't work with him.
Not really. He wouldn't get along with any of them. He would be too aggressive.
I don't see the chemistry working with even though it's the same version. It's
the same guy technically.
Yeah,
the portrayal of him is different.
It is technically the
Mark Ruffalo version.
Yeah, it is technically the Edward Norton version of the Hulk.
Yeah,
like it's not like it's another universe or no. It is technically
he is
the same guy.
To be the same guy. They portray him differently.
But you're like you picture like him palling around with Robert Downey Jr. and I'm like, yeah, I just don't see it. I don't see it in the same I'm replacing him in my mind and I just don't see it.
No, it would be very different.
And it's funny because you're like, it wasn't until like Mark, for whatever reason, when it comes to the Hulk, I've always kind of compartmentalized. It never occurred to me that the Hulk was like he's always been a separate being from Bruce Banner, so I never really thought that he should look like Hulk. So like someone pointed out that when he turns into the Hulk, you're like, wait, I just don't believe that used to be Edward Norton, whereas the
Mark Ruffalo one looks like him.
Looked like Mark Ruffalo. So you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's believable. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I like that movie. One of the most astute things that anyone ever said about the Hulk was the problem with the Hulk is that the character doesn't want to do the one thing that the audience wants him to do. So he's constantly, the audience is sitting there being like, I want him to turn into the Hulk, but he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So it makes the movie not interesting because he's not doing the thing you want him to do.
I had kind of a fun game that I played this time around where I pretended that Edward Norton and Bruce Banner is actually the character from the Fight Club, and
funny.
Tyler Durden is the further progression of his mental health problems.
You mean the Hulk is the version of
the Hulk? Yeah, the Hulk is Tyler Durden. Essentially.
That's funny.
He's the further progression of his mental health problems.
That's funny. That's so funny.
I played that so I tried to envision the movie as if he was that character, and I'm like, that makes this an even more enjoyable movie.
That's so funny. That's all
I really have to say about that. There's some funny stuff, like when he's in the plant and he's talking to the one guy. He's like, "You wouldn't like me when I'm ... hungry," and he's
hungry.
Like, "Huh?" It's like, yeah, it's funny.
There's a reference. Interesting to see if it comes back. Apparently it is. Apparently it's. I don't. Okay. There's a reference to Wolverine and Deadpool in there. I don't know if you picked up on it. I've mentioned it before.
I think you've mentioned it before. I don't specifically remember what it is though.
What's his face? General Ross mentions how the Hulk had already fought 2 Canadian agents.
Okay. I don't. Yeah. I remember you mentioning that, but that's funny.
And it'd be interesting to see because apparently in Deadpool and Wolverine, there will be a reference to the fact that Wolverine has fought the Hulk.
Interesting.
And so it makes me wonder if it's going to be if and apparently there is an MCU Wolverine, so it'll be interesting to see if he did fight the Hulk.
That's interesting.
Yeah, see how that, and if there is indeed an MCU Deadpool. But yeah, that's all I had to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that.
That's the end of rapid fire. It was a very long rapid fire.
Wasn't a very fast rapid fire. We got a little heated about Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Dave Spider-Man.
Dave and Jeff Spider-Man. With that, let's move into main report, Jordan.
Main report.
Main report. We need a theme song for main report.
Yeah.
Where's our theme song, Valania? I'm kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke that nobody gets. Go listen to Valania, but Valena. I'm pretty sure I butchered the pronunciation of their band name. Anyway, Jordan, what's your first main report?
My first main report, and this is going to be kind of a theme of the day. So you recall back into previous episode here, where I talked about the RoboCop movies and TV show.
I do recall.
And I left one out because I never thought that I would ever talk about this. And that's the 2014 version of RoboCop.
Bad movie.
Which is bad. He's not RoboCop in it. He's man who is robot who does cop work.
I wouldn't even say he's a robot. I would say he's more of a cyborg than a robot. I mean, although I guess technically the original RoboCop is RoboCop a cyborg, or is he just a robot with a man face?
I don't know about the original. I think the original is well, he eats baby food, so yeah, he must have organics inside.
Oh yeah, he does eat organic. Yeah, he does eat organic. But like this one very specifically, you see his inner organs.
You see he has lungs and he has inner organs, and it's horrifying and it's upsetting.
Yeah, and one hand for some reason. He's got
one hand for reasons. I have a lot of issues with this movie. Starting with the fact that he's not RoboCop.
Let's maybe reduce this to a list, Jordan. What's your first issue?
He's not RoboCop.
All right. He's not RoboCop. He's really not RoboCop.
He has his memory. Okay, to further elaborate into that, the original RoboCop did not. They wiped his memories of his family. His family did not know that he was alive, and he was more of a robot than a man.
Yeah.
In this one, his family signs off on the fact, like, to turn him into this. Know that he's alive. He's aware of who they are, and remembers them. And he's not RoboCop. He's not like a robot. He's like, at a certain point, they reduce his serotonin levels and turn him more into RoboCop.
My response.
Also, what was wrong with him being blue?
Yeah, I mean, yes, the change of the. It's funny because the thing with this movie for me is like it feels like they're trying to like make a statement on stuff, but it it wants to have the appearance of making a statement on stuff, while like doing the thing that it's trying to. So like, yeah, there's a bit where Michael Keaton is like, oh, it would be cooler if it's black, which feels like it could be a statement on how like executives like, you know, try to make everything cool and hip and approachable to teenagers. But no, I'm pretty sure that scene is genuine. Like they genuinely think people are gonna be like, no, black is cooler, and it's like it's supposed to be cool. Like it's not supposed to be bad. Like that's the thing. Like it doesn't feel like it's supposed to be bad, which it is. It is bad.
It has all the worst qualities that RoboCop 3 has, which for anyone who knows RoboCop, they'll know what I mean. There's also just the fact that for me, part of what makes RoboCop is that it's dystopian Detroit.
Yeah.
Like there's gangs on the street everywhere. There's the violence is like so over the top. That's why it's rated R, is because the violence in that movie is so over the top.
It's also, and the remake misses this too. RoboCop is supposed to be funny. Like it's a satire. It's a dark satire. Like it's supposed to be like, that's why you have all those commercials that randomly are cut in. You know, I buy that for $1. You know, all that.
Yeah.
The remake has none of that. It has none of the satire. Like it's legit. Like they think it's sincere. And RoboCop is not supposed to be sincere. That's how you wind up with, as you pointed out, RoboCop 3 or the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the minute RoboCop becomes sincere is when it stops working.
And then there's also just the fact that, like, yeah, part of the point of why RoboCop gets created in the original is not like because of this whole like they want to push this weird like the movie wants to push this weird agenda of like having robots on American soil is good and like we should have that take over. No, the point of why they make RoboCop in the original is because the city is owned, like the mayor and the city and everything is owned by a corporation, and the police are threatening to go on strike because they are so overworked. So they come up with RoboCop and later Ed 209 to police the streets. It's not about like what in this one is, where they create RoboCop so that they can overturn the Dreyfus Act, so that they can put Ed 209s on American soil. Well, is the only reason RoboCop exists in this.
Doesn't Ed 209 come first in the first one, and then he fails and like murders people, so they create RoboCop to be more palatable to the everyday person? Isn't that the idea?
Well, the idea was basically that in the original, again, from what I remember, it's been a hot minute. Go back and watch my original review and opinions on this in a previous episode.
But I'm pretty sure,
But I from what I remember, basically, no, the idea is that the police are going to go on strike, and so the corporation side of things is like, okay, what alternatives can we have? And the one dude who was gonna take over for the president is like, well, I have the two Ed 209s, and brings them into a meeting or whatever.
And it doesn't work.
And it guns down people, and it doesn't work. And the other dude, the other swarmy dude,
is like, how about a RoboCop?
Is like, well, I have this program like RoboCop, we could try that. And like screws over the other dude.
Right. Whereas I remember now. Whereas in the remake, the Ed 209s and they have like human robot cops that don't have human science, I should say.
Which are off in like I don't remember what the country actually was.
I think it's Afghanistan. Some version
I think it's Afghanistan or something. Yeah. And the Dreyfus Act stops them from being allowed on American soil.
Right. So
they create RoboCop that is a human technically,
Yeah.
so that they can PR themselves, bring it onto American soil because it doesn't technically go against that Dreyfus Act. Bring the American people onto their side so that they can then try to repeal it, so that they can then make millions selling Ed 209s on American soil.
Right, but it misses the. You're right. It misses the point of the original RoboCop, which is that within this, it makes RoboCop. Makes RoboCop unnecessary in his own movie. Like, there's no reason for his existence, because you could just create an approachable, fully robotic version of it that would solve all the problems that they give themselves in the movie, but then there wouldn't be a movie. But still, you're right. Yeah, I forgot about the bit where it's like, they already have Ed 209, so it's like, that's the whole point of RoboCop. They need a human part of it.
They have Ed 209 and other robots, and they work.
Yeah, exactly.
Unlike in the original, they work. It's just the government doesn't want them on American soil.
But then
So they create RoboCop so that they can create something that they essentially describe at a certain point in the movie. They essentially describe RoboCop as a robot who thinks he's human.
Right. And again, that's the thing with this movie, for me anyway, is like it feels like it's trying to say something, or it wants to try to say something about the militarization of the police, because clearly that's what this is meant to try, or it's appearing to make a statement on that, but it doesn't, because again, it's so like genuine. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah,
it's a bad
it does it does it very poorly.
So here's the question though. Here's my question.
It had a budget of 100 to 130 million, and the box office was only 242.6
So
million.
Jordan, did it reboot the franchise?
No.
No, it did not. That's because they're talking about doing another one, another remake, another
like
reboot.
it feels like they wanted it to, but it just clearly
it was trying. It was trying.
Did not take off.
So here's a question that we're gonna begin to ask now. I'm gonna fold in another question, because I suspect some of mine are gonna have the same question. But if this didn't have the name RoboCop on it, would it be an okay movie? Is it a good movie but a bad RoboCop movie?
I think it would have worked fine as its own independent movie. I think a lot of what we have just spent talking about, complaining, is because we're comparing it to an original.
Right. So if it didn't have the name RoboCop on it and it was just
I think it would have been more successful.
Right. Not successful. That's not the question. Is it a good movie?
I refuse to answer that question.
So no, it's a bad movie. Because I can answer that question for mine.
It's hard for me to distinguish it because it's got the RoboCop name on it. If I took the RoboCop name off of it, a lot of the issues that I have with it, I don't think I would have had.
Interesting. So it works as its own movie.
That's where I say it would have been more successful and it would have been better. But would it have been a good movie? It's hard for me to say.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. Do you have anything else to say about bad Robot Cop?
It's not RoboCop.
Do you have anything else to say about not Robot Cop? Okay, but no, he's not RoboCop, Jordan. He's just Robot Cop. He's not RoboCop, Jordan. He's not RoboCop. He's Robot Cop.
If he was Robot Copper, then I think it would have been more enjoyable. Especially because part of the thing for me is he's not acting again. He's not acting like RoboCop.
No,
RoboCop has to be more like. Let's be clear. Across the various RoboCop movies and RoboCop show, he's played by different people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's always RoboCop.
Yeah.
Like he always feels like RoboCop. This character doesn't because he's too human.
Because you're right, and my thing with, and I discovered this.
So then to go back to your question, if you took the RoboCop off and had it just, it was Robot Copper or Robot Cop or whatever, right? Like it was just, then it would work better because him being human is not a detractor.
Yeah,
it's not going against the very essence of what makes RoboCop. And so in that instance, yes, I think it would have been better.
Because the reason why I asked that, and we're gonna get to that when we get to some of mine, but the reason why I say that is because one of the scenes I remember from this movie being like, oh, that's pretty cool, is the one where he's fighting the Ed 209, or he's he's in the warehouse and they're testing him, and he's doing a big combat with a bunch of guns, and he's fighting a bunch of he's fighting Rorschach's guys.
He's fighting the small guys.
Yeah. That scene is cool. But it's not RoboCop. It's not RoboCop.
Like there's cool scenes in this movie. It's just not.
I think I discovered
RoboCop.
about RoboCop is he's so slow and like methodical, and that's and like when he shoots everything, he's slow and he moves deliberately, and that's simply because he had to look like a robot, right? So it's just by nature, but he's too fast and he's too agile, and that's not RoboCop. RoboCop needs to be clumsy and clunky. And lazy. It doesn't work when he's too smooth. And I think that's So that's where I'm like, there's cool scenes in here. And if this wasn't RoboCop, would I be as critical of it? Would I be like, oh no, this is just a dumb action movie that's fun?
And that's where I say, I don't think we would. I think it would have done better, and I think it might have even gotten a sequel
because
if it didn't have that name on it.
Do you have anything else? Because we're going to continue that theme into my first one.
That's all I have to say about bad RoboCop.
Because when it came to selecting my movies and selecting reboots, I immediately went to the movies that because Jake offered the suggestion. There were movies that were quasi-inspired by conversations I've had with him. So obviously, I had to pick Godzilla '98, which that's where I was like when you were like, what is a reboot? I went, well, Godzilla '98, obviously a reboot, but I'm like, but is it a reboot or is it a remake, or is it an adaptation? And I'm like, I would consider it a reboot, but the argument could be made that it's technically an adaptation of Godzilla, or it's a remake. It's not a remake though.
I wouldn't call it a reboot because it doesn't reboot a franchise.
But it's not a remake because it's not remaking, like it's not remaking Godzilla 1954, for example.
I would say it's an adaptation.
But it's also, is it an adaptation because A, it's not Godzilla, and B,
but it's supposed to be.
And here's the question, right? Here's the reason why I asked you that, because would this be a better movie? Or people, I don't know, lots of people said that it was a bad movie regardless. But my question is, would we consider it a bad movie if it didn't have the Godzilla name on it?
I think if it didn't have the Godzilla name on it, people would have just seen an okay monster movie.
That's my thing.
Instead of a bad Godzilla movie.
That's my thing. It's like that's exactly how we would put it. You said that once, and it's one of the most astute things you've ever said, because I completely agree. It's not a bad monster movie. I don't think it's a bad monster movie. I think it's a classically good B monster movie, but it's a bad Godzilla movie.
I would say it's
inarguable.
It's a similar situation to, like, remember when we discussed the Mario movie, the live action one?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a similar situation of that, where if it didn't have because a lot of times with movies like this,
you come into it with a preconception.
Name power holds a certain level of power, and that's a thing that will continue into my next one as well. Where a name power holds a lot of weight with it, and a lot of responsibility in some cases.
Exactly.
And it can take what is otherwise just an okay movie, and people, because they have a nostalgia for the original, will just have a blind vitriol hatred towards a thing, regardless of whether or not it's warranted, just because of a name.
And the thing is, I don't understand why Roland Emmerich is making this movie. Like, he's just the wrong guy to direct a Godzilla movie, because clearly when they were making this movie, they just saw Godzilla as a big lizard who attacks a city. And typically, Godzilla movies have something to say, usually, even the bad ones, at least have something to say. This doesn't really have anything to say beyond the fact that he's just a big lizard. He's just a big lizard who...
Big monster.
But, like, also, it's not devoid of things to like in it. Like, I really like... I'm
losing you.
You're losing me. Hold on. Let's let it catch up.
Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Excellent.
You were getting choppy there.
Where did you lose me?
Not devoid of things to like.
It's not devoid of things to like. Like, I was going to ask you, Jordan, if I said to you, who's that? You know that French guy? You know who I'm talking about, right? You know the guy who's just, he's just French and everything?
Yeah, he's from the Da Vinci Code. He's in Couples Retreat.
Pink Panther. Yeah, John Reno.
Pink Panther.
John Reno. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. He has one of my favorite scenes in the movie where him and Matthew Broderick, they're trying to sneak past the American army, and Matthew Broderick he's disguised as an army guy and he's nervous that the French guys are gonna blow their cover, and he's doing all the talking, and the guy's like, "What's up? Doesn't John Reno talk?" And you're expecting John Reno to have a French accent. He speaks with this like fluent American accent, and like, "Oh no, I can. Yeah, I'm good." And they drive away, and Matthew Broderick's like, "What?" He's like, "Elvis movies." It's just it's genuinely very funny.
Fair.
And yeah. I mean, the thing is that the back half of the movie where it just kind of becomes Jurassic Park, and it becomes the bad baby Godzilla's chasing the people around, and they're just the raptors from Jurassic Park, and yeah, it's just it's frustrating because
That's where I say if you didn't have Godzilla on there, then it might have been more successful.
Like it's just like everyone involved in making this is just not the right. I think in the 90s you could have had a good American Godzilla movie. I think it's possible. I just don't think these were the right people. Also, for some reason, there's like 2/3 of the Simpsons cast are in this movie, and I can't figure out why. It's so weird. Like, Hank Azaria is in it. Harry Shearer is in it. Nancy Cartwright's in it. I feel like there's at least one more. But yeah, it's weird. I mean, when you try to Google why are there so many people from The Simpsons in this movie, there seems to be no rhyme or reason for it. They're just in this movie for some reason. The only one who's not is Dan Castellaneta.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah.
You have anything, or did this reboot the franchise?
It absolutely did not, but I mean, it led to the good Godzilla movie. So there's that. The thing that's upsetting about this one is ultimately like when you see like behind the scenes stuff and concept art, he actually looked like Godzilla, and also it spawned a pretty good cartoon show that ends on a cliffhanger, if I recall.
That's fair.
Where he actually,
That's fair.
Where they decide, oh yeah, maybe he should fight monsters and actually do something instead of just run around the city. And it didn't have Matthew Broderick being like, that's a lot of fish. Also, there's a joke about people not being able to say his name properly. It's very weird. It's very strange. Just not a good movie. Just a bad, not good at all movie.
Do you have anything else to say about this one, Justin?
No, I'm good. That's it. That's all I have.
No. So then I suppose we should move on to my next one, which
you're me 15 minutes. You're me 10 minutes from now when I talk about Power Rangers.
So I once upon a time on this podcast, I also discussed a movie called Ghostbusters. Insert Ghostbusters here. And so
Girl, Ghostbusters.
Since we were you're giving away the spoilers, man. You got to let me build up to it. Since we were challenged to do reboots, it felt only appropriate that I torture myself with this really bad movie.
I mean, you never watch bad movies, so it was your time. It was your time to watch bad movies for once.
I'm making up for it with this episode because this
turns out reboots are generally bad.
Yeah, that sort of seems to be the theme. Because this was trash.
Oh,
I need to dispel and get ahead of this, because in 2016 you couldn't complain about this movie without everybody saying, "Oh, you just hate it because they're women." No, I hate it, and they're women,
and there are women in it. Yeah,
and there are women in it.
Yeah, no, they're not the problem with it. They are the problem with this movie.
They're not solely the problem with this movie.
Their gender is not the problem with this movie. They are the problem with this movie, but their gender is not the problem with this movie.
It's not because they're women. It's just they are the problem.
It's because they wouldn't stop improvising, and Paul Feig didn't say cut.
I mean, that's certainly one reason. There's also, okay. We'll take this piece by piece. The EKG machines or whatever, where they scan where the ghosts are, look wrong to me. I don't like them visually. I'm not going to say that they are an incorrect choice because it's a visual thing. You could do whatever. I don't like them. the characters, the four girls, if they are supposed to be a direct correlation to the four originals, it's inconsistent with who is who.
Yeah,
The only one who is consistent is the only one which is the only two which are consistent, I would say, are you have the Ernie Hudson female version, who I'm not going to say that it's racist that she had to be black because the other guy was black, but it certainly makes it feel like they each are meant to be the original.
Up until the point where it's like they're all just kind of Venkman.
Yeah, and so like the blonde one is supposed to be the smart guy. I'm gonna fuck up all their names. Oh, Egon, thank you. And then so tell me which one do you think, like, obviously they all end up kind of feeling like Venkman, but is Melissa McCarthy supposed to be Venkman because she has the attitude to be Venkman?
I would have said Melissa McCarthy. Yes, I would have said Venkman. Yes, absolutely would have said
she has the attitude to be Venkman, or is her name? Kristen Wiig supposed to be Venkman, because Venkman kind of feels like the main one, and she feels like she's the main one.
I would have said she's supposed to be Dan Aykroyd, but she's clearly.
But Dan Aykroyd in the original is already paired up. With Egon, and it's Venkman who comes in and joins, which would imply that Kristen Wiig, being the one who comes in and joins them, is supposed to be Venkman, but she's not Venkman enough to be Venkman. Melissa McCarthy is, and so it's like if they're supposed to be 1-to-1, then they're failing on that regard, and if they're not supposed to be 1-to-1, then they need to be distinctly different from the originals, which they also aren't.
Well, yeah, Kristen Wiig is like she's clearly supposed to be. At least I've never, because obviously Dan Aykroyd's character is he's really earnest and really into the paranormal stuff, and that's where he's like obsessed with the paranormal stuff. And then Egon's bit is that he's into the science of it. And then
Venkman likes the attention.
Yeah, Venkman wants the attention and the money, and he's quippy and sarcastic. And then Ernie Hudson
is also there.
Why can I never remember his character's name? Winston. Winston.
He brings the hearse.
Well, Winston is a regular guy. That's the whole point to this. He's just the regular guy. That's the whole bit.
Which
she just took the job. That's the thing.
She also fits into that.
Oh yeah, she absolutely. Oh my god, I'm gonna forget her name.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but we remember the non-colored Leslie Jones.
Leslie Jones.
I was gonna say we remember the non-colored people's names. It feels wrong to not Leslie Jones. Yeah, Leslie Jones is just a regular person, so she fits the Winston. But no, it's
my big issue. My other big issue with this movie is that
I was just gonna say Kristen Wiig, if she's meant to be, if Kate McKinnon fits Egon. In the sense that she's clearly scientific, she's done it. Tell her she's doing machines. I see that.
Yeah.
I get that. It's between Melissa McCarthy. Well, yeah, Melissa McCarthy is clearly supposed to be Venkman, and then I guess Kristen Wiig is supposed to be Dan Aykroyd, supposed to be Ray, but like because she I guess is the one who's into the ghost, but also she's also doing quips. So that's where you're right. They can't decide who is Venkman and who is they it's confused if it's indeed supposed to be 1-to-1.
And then my other big thing with the movie is it just feels like bad fan fiction, like really bad fan fiction with self-insert characters.
I mean, to be fair, they all feel like bad fan fiction after that. I mean, the only good Ghostbusters is the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
It's the only good Ghostbusters. The rest of them are middling to bad.
But I think that the one that came after this, the Finn Wolfhard one, I maintain I think that one's better. Not just because they bring back the original guys to actually be the original guys and not just do bad cameos, which are bad.
I mean, I would argue their cameos in the Finn Wolfhard one are also bad. But
they're at least the actual characters.
I mean, yeah, but they're equally as lazy. I don't know. I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. I guess
what makes those ones better to me is that they finally break the bad habit that both the originals and this one have, which is why do the teams have to be all boys or all girls? The reason why this one got all the sexist terrible fanboys up in arms is because they were like, oh, it's just an all-girl team with the secretary who's now a guy. It's literally Ghostbusters, but in verse, and all the girls are guys and all the guys are girls. And it got everybody's back up. Whereas the Finn Wolfhard one is like, okay, we've got guys and girls, and they're all ghost busting.
I mean, it doesn't help that it doesn't take much to antagonize those kinds of people, and the movie ends with a dick, a groin shot. So like,
sure, but
there's parts of it where I was like, I understand why they may have taken issue with some of these.
But this movie, it feels like it's one of those movies where it's doing that shit just to piss people off.
It does, yeah.
Whether that was the intention or not, it comes across like it was the intention.
Do you know how normally I say it's not the intention, and then you're like, oh, it's. I'm pretty sure probably there was a degree of intentionality there for sure. I would say.
And to me, that makes it a weaker movie.
Like Amy Pascal was, she said something to the effect of "girls rule, boys drool," basically. You know, the PR spun version of that.
Yeah, and it's just funny, not good.
Man.
It's not funny. It's not good. I would not be surprised if over the years this is forgotten completely and buried.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it already has been. It already has been. People barely remember it.
More than it is. I mean, apparently, and I didn't see this. I must have missed this. Apparently, at the end of the movie, the Ghostbusters moved to a disused firehouse. I must have fallen asleep.
Oh, you're talking about
or this is the end of the credits or something.
Yeah.
I think they build more equipment, including an ecto-containment system, and while investigating electronic voice phenomenon (EVP),
Zool.
Patty hears the word Zool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right, either right at the end of the movie or it's a post-credit scene. But yeah, that movie also got.
I missed that.
Yeah, that movie got. I mean, the one thing we talked about the first time we saw it, that movie got decimated in the edit, and it's really obvious because there's the bit towards the end where Kristen Wiig is just in a hotel for no reason. Like they never explain why. They don't say why, for what reason she's at that hotel, but she's just staying in a hotel room and she's just up there. And it's clearly because it was a cut subplot that they stitched the footage together. It's just a bad movie. It's one of those ones where I remember being like overly kind to it the first time I saw it, and like subsequent rewatches is like, yeah, man, they really didn't know when to say cut. I really didn't know when to say cut.
It's very funny. On the Wikipedia, they have an entire section which is just controversy, which I'm not going to read it all out, but it's just very funny to retroactively go and read about every all. It's
dumb.
It's
dumb.
like
people were dumb.
People.
This was the hill people were willing to die on. They were like, it's so blah. I was like, guys, it's just a bad movie. Let it go, man.
It's.
But it was hard. It's one of those movies where it was like you couldn't
talk about it because people were just like, oh, you're just sexist.
Yeah, you couldn't say it was a bad. You want to get lumped in the people who were defending it on principle, and you couldn't lump in with the people who were like it's bad because girl. It's like if you were like, oh, it's like when you try to criticize, and we're not going to get into it, but it's like when you try to criticize The Last Jedi, where you're like, no, there's legitimate narrative problems with that movie, but no, it's not bad because girl.
No, I just think. I don't. In terms of this one, I don't think it's bad because girl. I just think they chose wrong girl.
No, I don't even think they chose wrong girl. I think
for some of them I do. Not all of them. Like I think the girl that the woman, she's a woman. They're women.
Yeah, they're women.
Let's not be
But no, I don't.
Here.
I don't think it's the wrong women.
I think the one that plays girl Egon, I think she does fine.
Yeah, I like her.
And I feel the one that plays girl Ernie, she does fine. Honestly, my only real complaint is Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy. I think they should have been switched.
To be fair, I don't like Kristen Wiig. I've never thought she was funny in anything. But Melissa McCarthy,
I think their roles should have been switched because then it would have made sense. Because then
that was largely the same role, but
Melissa McCarthy at that point. No, Kristen Wiig is the one that was already paired up with the bookish smart girl making the stuff, and then she fits into more of the Dan Aykroyd role where she's super into it and super excited, and you just turn Melissa McCarthy in. I mean, then you literally would have had Girl Ghostbusters, but you turn Melissa McCarthy straight pretty much into Venkman.
I mean,
It would have worked.
yeah.
It would have worked way.
But
It would
then,
have worked way better.
but I don't think. Again, yeah. I guess you're like, you're saying you're the same characters. You just swap them around. Yeah. I mean, I think you need to make more of it. I don't mind.
Just like the point.
Well, just have it where it's
movie,
like
the point in the movie is that Kristen Wiig is upset with Melissa McCarthy's character because she's selling a crazy book that they wrote like years ago. That feels more like a Kristen Wiig thing to do, and Kristen Wiig is upset with Melissa McCarthy because she's going to cost her not scholarship, tenureship.
yeah.
with the
She's
college.
trying to. She's trying to. Is it
That
Kristen
feels
Wiig
more
is,
like you have Melissa McCarthy there.
But no, yeah, Kristen Wiig is trying to be taken legitimately serious. No, I don't. Kristen Wiig or Melissa McCarthy is always the wild one. So I don't see her being a straight man. I don't see that working for her. I think the roles as is are fine. They just need to be more clearly defined. Like you need to if she's gonna be the problem is like Kristen Wiig isn't trying to be, she's clearly not Ray, but she's also not Venkman either, but they don't do enough to make her her own character. Because I think the idea of like what differentiates this team is one of them is trying to like distance herself from being the ghost person. That makes sense. And yeah, you're right. Well, have it where it's like now that I'm
That's
working this
what
out loud.
Venkman did in the first one where he.
Well, no,
That's what they did with Venkman in the first one, where he was like a psychologist trying to do his psychology thing, and then the what's his name, Dan Aykroyd's character comes and brings him in to do the Ghostbusters stuff.
Dan Aykroyd.
So it's very similar to.
No, Dan Aykroyd and Ray Ray and Venkman were already working together at that point in the original. They were already working together. That was the whole point.
No.
Yeah, and they were already Venkman was doing the stuff at the university, but they were already him, Egon, and Ray. They were already working together. That's the whole thing with the original. And then they bring in Winston in the third act. So
I mean, then this one was doomed to fail because the her not wanting to have anything to do with it kind of breaks it all.
Right, but I think that was their attempt at different. And what you do instead is you're right. Make it where it's like what I don't understand is why is Kate McKinnon's character not already working with them? Her having to be introduced later on doesn't really work, especially with her being eccentric. You're like, well, that doesn't. So just have it where it's like the three of them. Well, because isn't it like they don't know her? Like
She
they meet
no
her?
no. The way that it works in this one is Melissa McCarthy's character and the blonde Egon character are already working together at the different college, and what's her name? Kristen Wiig's character is at a respectable, like, serious college.
Oh, okay.
And she's trying to distance herself from her past and Melissa McCarthy and all that.
I thought
and is up for tenureship, and a crazy person comes in asking her to sign the book that she wrote.
I thought it was like Melissa McCarthy is on her own, and then she goes to Kristen Wiig, and then they both like run into. I didn't.
No.
I guess I forgot that. Then yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Put it in the bin. Is there anything else you have to say about 2016 Ghostbusters?
It's bad,
God, it's
and
bad.
we could make a long form content video one day of us fixing it.
God, it's so bad. No, that's one of those ones. That's not. I mean, that's a hard one.
There are ways. There are ways to fix it.
It wouldn't
But we
take
would
much.
have to. We would have to completely rewrite it.
No, I mean, really. No, not really. My only
Yes,
two real.
yes.
My only
Riley.
two real things about that movie. The two major problems with it is they over improv. So number one, we limit the improv. You get one improv take, and we say cut. Sticking to the script. Stick to the script and have a coherent script. Would fix that movie.
I would do some recasting. I would get rid of Kristen Wiig and I'd bring in Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, but the whole point to Ghostbusters is it's supposed to be for comedians, right? That's the whole point of it. So I understand why they did, and I don't think there's an issue with the cast as it is. I think you need to take away Kristen Wiig's. No, because if the problem with Kristen Wiig is she's trying too hard to be Bill Murray. If you make her a total straight man, And the idea is she's reacting to Melissa McCarthy's being wild, and there's too many people trying to steal the limelight. If some of them were like more, if some of them went straight man, it would work. Because I don't think the idea of having of someone being pulled back into craziness. I think having Kristen Wiig be like an audience point of view character who like, yeah, I believed this stuff when I was in college like 20 years ago, but I no longer believe that stuff. I think that works in terms of rebooting the franchise. Like in terms of like reintroducing to people the idea of Ghostbusters. Like this movie kind of comes to the Ghostbusters from the perception of Ghostbusters are a big deal and everyone wants to be a Ghostbuster. But like a movie where not everyone wants to be a Ghostbuster is way more interesting to me.
So to answer your question, no, it does not reboot the franchise.
It does not. No, it absolutely did not.
In fact, they want to bury this.
They absolutely want to. They would like you to forget about it. They absolutely would like you to forget about it. As for the real quick to touch on what comes after, I think that movie. Here's what I say. That movie is basically The Force Awakens, and I think The Force Awakens will work on you if you have crazy nostalgia for the thing that its Force Awakenings is. And I don't for Ghostbusters. So none of the schmaltzy bullshit works for me, and it is in fact actively gross, in my opinion. Like that movie's gross, and I think that's why I will never like it, because again, we've talked about this before, but the notion of someone bringing me back to life against my will and without my consent bothers me, and I just
got it. So I'll do that for you.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Do not.
So I will make sure that happens. Don't worry.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No. We will be doing podcasts in the future with an AI version of you.
None of that. But yeah, and it's just the cameos are it's just schmaltzy, awful garbage. Not garbage, but it's just not. It just didn't work for me. It doesn't help.
It's better than this one.
The second half of that movie is literally just the first movie again. It's The Force Awakens. It just didn't do it for me. That's not one of those ones where I could be like, it's a bad movie. It just doesn't work for me.
No, yeah, that's fair, but it's better than this one.
That I would agree with.
Is not debatable.
It has different issues, is what I would say.
Different issues, which make it better than this one.
I don't know that I can say that.
I can. I watched this movie.
I would say they're of relative quality to each other. But again, the only good Ghostbusters movie is the first one. The rest of them are bad. There isn't every single one is bad except for the first one. Every single one. They're all.
I mean, I agree. I agree with that, but I feel like that's a controversial opinion. That's all I have to say about this movie. So, what's your next have seen?
Speaking of controversial opinions, no, this opinion gets me in trouble a lot. Jordan, we're going to talk about this one of this week's long form videos, Jordan, which we say the title up front now because then I edit the title in later. But the title is, Jordan, Power Rangers 2017 fails both as a movie and a Power Rangers movie. Because Jordan, that movie be real bad, yo. It's bad. It's one of those movies where it's like an absolute Swiss Army knife of a bad movie where every time I watch it, there's a new bad thing I find.
I think I've only seen it once, and I remember walking out of it I'm pretty sure I've only watched it the one time.
Huh.
And I remember, funny enough, I probably would have picked it for this if you hadn't. But I remember walking out of it and being so upset. Like, so upset. And you being the one where it's like, oh, it's not that bad. Like, it's got redeemable qualities,
I absolutely said that, yeah.
And defending it as I ripped it to shreds and was so unhappy with it.
I at the time, oh man, I only have one status about this movie, and it's me calling it bad. But going back to 2017, I recall being like, it's a big budget version of the show, which is what everyone says, and being like, yeah, it's not perfect, but the action sequences are cool. And no, they're not. They're bad. They're bad action sequences. They're not good. Nothing in this movie's good. Like, it's a bad movie. It's a very bad movie. Like,
The suit design is awful. The monster design is awful. The fight scenes aren't that great.
oh my god. Okay. At the very, I mean, I don't even know where to start with this. But at the very least, you'd think
How
like,
about the start?
okay. Well, it starts off with a joke about Jason jacking off a cow. That's where it starts.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. That was the spur of the moment pocket. No, see, I'm not even kidding. It literally, there's a joke about how Jason's friend, not Jason, sorry, I apologize. Jason's friend jerks off a cow. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I slandered
Oh,
him.
well, that makes it completely okay.
It's
then.
so bad. It was like they wanted. It felt like they wanted Jason to get into a drunk driving accident, but didn't want to commit to it, or was like, this is a PG movie. We can't have the Red Ranger be drunk or drink alcohol. And so made it so he steals a cow instead and gets into a car crash. But it's like, but what? But fucking what? He steals a cow and then the cops chase after him. Like, I'm sorry, in Angel Grove they really care about cows apparently. Like, what? Okay.
I mean, cows are probably expensive.
And the thing is, like, it's a Power Rangers movie, right? So at the very least,
Is it?
at the very least, like in name it is. So at the very least, you think like you'd like to see some Power Rangers in it, right? You know how long it takes a Power Ranger to show up in this fucking movie, not counting the intro sequence, because I don't count the intro sequence. It takes an hour. I recorded it once, but it's about an hour and 7 minutes. It takes an hour and 7 minutes for a fucking Power Ranger suit to show up, and it's not even in like an action sequence. It's one brief shot of Billy quickly morphing into the suit, and then he turns back into Billy, and then you don't see the suits again until the end of the movie, where they only appear for one fucking sequence. One sequence, one scene, one action sequence, and they barely wear the helmets for any of it until they get to the Megazord, which is boring as fuck, by the way. The Megazord is awful. The Zord designs are terrible. They don't look like the thing they're supposed to look like, which is the dinosaurs. It's awful. They look awful. The only one that kind of looks okay is the T-Rex. Like, the T-Rex kind of looks like the T-Rex, but not really. And the Megazord is boring as hell. But they like flip the fucking masks up so you don't see their face. Or so you see their faces, so they're not even wearing the costumes properly for half of it. And the rest of it are like every character is like, yeah, they've got characteristics to them, but like they're what's the word? Boring. Like they're like, Jason is the leader, and like, yeah, they're all just like one note characteristics about a person that they don't really go into with any particular detail, and it's just characters.
Archetypes.
Yeah, thank you. They're archetypes. They're not really characters. They're just archetypes. And like most of the movie is just like fights, not fights, but like training. It's them training. It's them training. It's them training in this boring, dark, like empty location. I can hear myself echoing.
I mean, I can hear you tapping.
It's really because I'm trying to turn down the gain. At least I'm hoping I am. I'm hoping I'm not turning it up. Sorry. Okay. That's better. Sorry, audience. I just disrupted myself, but it's really distracting. I can hear myself talk, and it's distracting me. Where was I going with that?
Archetypes.
Archetypes. Oh yeah, so much of it is just characters standing around talking, like, and it's all like interpersonal drama that is about as interesting as like a YA novel or a YA adaptation, like a Hunger Games, and it's just none of these characters are interesting, and it takes itself so seriously. I think the biggest problem with it ultimately is it's ashamed of being a Power Rangers movie. It is ashamed of. It takes everything that makes Power Rangers fun. It takes all of the camp and all of the silliness and all of the goof, and instead wants to it focuses on all this stuff about Power Rangers that's like the least interesting. So like the fact that they're soldiers and the alien stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's the least interesting part of Power Rangers. And the reason why I keep banging on about how they took out the camp. The reason why I know you can have camp and have darkness is Japan does it perfectly fine. Right? You've got your Kamen Rider. You've got your... I mean, I made you watch Kamen Rider. Would you say that there are elements of Kamen Rider that's like really dark, based upon what I told you about mine?
I mean, from what you've described to me in the past, yeah. I mean, even I know looking at Sentai, there definitely is. If you just even in Power Rangers, if you go and you look at the Time Force, for example,
right?
The villain's backstory in that I would definitely say has dark elements.
Right. So you can do dark elements, and you can have it be serious, and you can take it seriously, but still have the aesthetic and the suit designs and the Megazord designs look like Power Rangers and don't just look like generic Iron Man awful suits. The suits are awful. The suits are awful. Yeah, the Mega... I will never forgive this movie for what they did to Goldar. Like, Goldar is one of my favorite characters, and I say it is the worst version of Goldar, and I say that in a universe where Goldar Maximus exists. You've never seen Goldar Maximus. Be thankful you haven't, because he's terrible. But he's not worse than this. Like, at least he's got a personality and isn't some bland, generic fucking gold monster, which bears Goldar's name but desecrates his legacy, shits all over his legacy. And, like, I don't know what... the one that bothers me the most is Bryan Cranston, because he was on the fucking show. And, like, I don't know what he's doing in this movie, but it's not Zordon. That's not Zordon. Like, I don't know what that character is, but it's not Zordon.
I forgot he was in this movie.
And I understand that you want to have flawed characters, right? I get that. I totally get that. You want to have flawed characters. But part of what the Power Rangers is that they're hyper competent. Like, that's their whole thing. Like part of it is teenagers with attitude. Like, he selects teenagers for a reason. And, like, the whole thing with Power Rangers is, like, Zordon and Alpha have been, like, monitoring Earth for, like hundreds of years, like, for years or whatever, right? And they find the Power Rangers when Rita escapes. It's not like, oh, the Power Rangers just happen upon the power randomly, and it's like, yeah, it's all right. And also, I don't know what Elizabeth Banks is doing in this movie, but fuck, it's not Rita Repulsa. Like, that's not Rita Repulsa. Like, again, it takes out everything that makes that character fun and reduces her to this, like, weird, like, he's whisper saying bad lines of dialogue. I mean, also, man, this is just turning into a rant. But it's like also, like, the entire climax of the movie takes place in a Krispy Kreme for some absurd reason. Like, there's a point where...
Sponsorship, that's why.
Rita Repulsa is like, what is this Krispy Kreme? Is it the best? Oh my god, is she doing an ad for Krispy Kreme right now? Like, what the fuck? What is happening here? And, like...
I mean, how do you think they afforded to make this movie, Justin? It was that sweet Krispy Kreme dollars.
Like, it doesn't... Like, where's Bulkin's skull? Like, this movie needed levity, and Bulkin... And, like, there's bully characters who I thought was Bulkin's skull, but they're not. There's bully characters who are, like, psychopaths. Like, there's one point where one of them comes up to Billy, he grabs him by the wrist, he's like, I'm gonna break your arm now. What the fuck? Like, is that what American high school is just like? People randomly walk up to you like, yeah, I'm gonna physically assault you now out of nowhere for no reason. Unprovoked. What?
I'm not American. I'm not the right person to answer that question.
The only good character in that movie, and the only one who kind of gets it, is Bill Hader as Alpha 5. He's the only one who kind of gets it a little bit. But, like, I at no point believe any person involved in the production of that movie watched a second of a Power Rangers episode. Other than they may have looked at some pictures, and, like, they heard what the rough plot of it was, and that's it. And again, it's embarrassed. It's embarrassed to be a Power Rangers movie. It fails. It fails as a Power Rangers movie. It's a bad movie. None of the characters are good. It's boring. Like, there's no action sequences. Like, a big thing with Power Rangers, and it needs one more action sequence with that. I realized this the last time I watched it, where it's missing that, like, early of the part of the episode action sequence where they fight the monster. It needs a monster. It needs a monster with personality. Like, its monster skips right to the big gigantic monster, but it needs the little person-sized monster they fight first. Like, that's part of it, and they completely skip that part just to have them stand around and talk about their feelings in the most boring and, like, unengaging way they possibly could. And also, there is a scene in this movie which is incomprehensible. There's a scene at the end of the movie where Jason walks
Only
in.
a scene?
Well, the rest of it is reasonably. There's one scene. The rest of it is mildly. This is totally incomprehensible because there's a scene at the end where Jason walks in and he has the power sword, and it's like a big budgeted, expensive looking version of the power sword. You know what the power sword is? You know the sword that he has in the show.
Yeah. I mean, they all have their weapons.
Yeah. So it's his sword. Like it's clearly the movie version of his sword, and he puts it in a holder, and Zordon says to him, "Oh, you should hold on to that. You've earned it," implying that we've seen this sword previously in the movie, and this is the payoff to an arc where like Jason learns to like accept the responsibility of having this sword or whatever. But we've never seen the sword once in this movie at all. And when I Googled it, and I'm like, oh, is this the remnant of like a subplot that got cut out, or like is this like a series? Like, is this the end? Like, what is this? No explanation. The only thing I can find out is I can find like 2 or 3 Reddit threads that agree with me that it doesn't make any sense, and that it's probably from a deleted scene. Like it's a remnant from a deleted scene.
It's clearly it's a cut.
But
scene.
I looked up the deleted scenes to see if there's any like inclination as to where it comes from. Were the other, because it's like, well, okay, that's the power sword. So were the other weapons in the other movie? The movie at some point, was there another? Like, was there that scene where they fought the regular sized version of Goldar and they used the combined version with all the weapons? Because there's it seems like there is, because there's a moment where they're all in their regular form, and they all pick up weapons, but they're all like regular they all pick up like for example, instead of having the lance, Billy picked up a pitchfork. So like they all have like makeshift versions of the weapons. So I thought the payoff was going to be that they turn into the weapons, but it doesn't. Like again, there's no payoff. So it feels like they're missing a scene, which was like the middle part and the beginning part of the middle part of that arc where they all like reveal their weapons. But again, there isn't. Finally, the most egregious scene is when they're all in the Zords, and it's doing the moment where they're all running, and you see the shot that's meant to replicate the shot from the show where you see all the Zords running side by side, and it starts playing the theme song, and you're like, you have in no way earned this. You have in no way earned this moment. I will say the one
this hero shot.
I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna end this by reading my Letterboxd review, because I never get tired of reading my Letterboxd review. For it. But the one fun reference in the movie is when they first summon all the Zords, they all come out of a quarry, which is really funny. Because it's really funny because all of Power Rangers action sequences took place in a quarry. So I just thought that was funny. Okay, so Jordan, to end.
So then, I have to ask the question. Wait, is that the last thing that you have to say?
I will let you ask your question, and then I'm going to end it with my.
I was just gonna say. So did it reboot the series?
Fuck no! Thank God. Although I will say, I would have, out of sheer morbid curiosity, watched a sequel to this because it was going to involve the Green Ranger. So, from that point, for that perspective, I maybe would have. But they keep trying to do a new version of this. At one point, there was going to be and I don't know if it was going to tie into Power Rangers Time Force, but they were going to do a version which involved time travel, and it was going to involve them going back to the time of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and it was going to be it was going to be this whole thing involving time travel, and it was going to be
interesting.
The aesthetic was going to be closer. They were going to use the actual suits from the show. Okay, to end my angry rant about how much I fucking hate this movie, let us read once again Justin's Letterboxd review of Power Rangers 2017. Begins with the question: Jordan, do you like Power Rangers? Because this movie sure doesn't.
Yeah.
Are you ready for an hour and 45 minutes of the most boring interpersonal drama that wildly misses the point of the original show? followed by 15 minutes of passable action sequences. I wouldn't even call it passable anymore. Get excited for a film that vaguely resembles and sounds like a beloved franchise from your childhood, as you say to yourself, "Oh hey, it's playing the theme song. That's cool, I guess." Marvel at a film that actively hates its own source material. That was the garbage. Fuck, I hate that movie, Power Ranger 2017. Jordan, let's move on before I get even angrier.
Okay. So,
What hadn't you seen, Jordan? What's your first one?
my first have not seen is Kong Skull Island.
Okay. So Jordan, we're gonna start off the question this time, Jordan. Did it reboot the King Kong franchise?
Yes and no. Not, I would say not on its own. It kind of just now he is to Godzilla what the Hulk is to Marvel.
Interesting, because I would argue that it's the other way, that Godzilla, because those movies kind of really became Kong focused, more Kong focused.
Really, because there's more Godzilla movies than there are Kong movies.
No. But what I'm saying is, if you're saying like going forward, I would argue that like the Kong Godzilla movies are more Kong movies than they are Godzilla movies.
I mean, I wouldn't. I would even go so far as to say that again, Kong doesn't really after this have his own movies.
No, but
Godzilla does.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the Godzilla Kong crossover movies.
So I'm saying
those are more Godzilla.
He's more like the Hulk, where it's like he only exists in other Marvel properties.
Sure, but I would disagree, because in those movies.
So if the question is, does this reboot Kong as his own thing?
Oh, as his own thing? No. But
no. He is an extension of Godzilla.
See, that's where I don't know, but I would say though that the Kong movies, or those Kong Godzilla movies, Godzilla's like the last one. That movie's way more of a King Kong movie than it is a Godzilla movie. Godzilla's kind of barely in it.
Sure, but it's still marketed as a Godzilla movie.
I mean, I would say. I mean,
it's marketed. Kong gets to be there because Godzilla ran first.
Yeah, but Kong gets top billing in that. I'm pretty sure. It's Kong Godzilla.
Sure, but that's not because of any interest on the audience's part, or because Kong is strong enough to stand on his own.
An American character.
That's because Godzilla has to be licensed from Toho every time.
Yeah, whereas Kong doesn't. Yeah, exactly. But that's where I'm saying. I would argue that this rebooted.
If your question is, does this reboot Kong as his own thing? No.
I disagree.
I don't think it does.
I think it did, because I think it rebooted Kong back into the collective consciousness. So I would say that it absolutely does.
As an extension of Godzilla.
But okay, I don't agree with that. But here's the follow-up question. Would you say that this is a sequel to Godzilla? Would you consider it a sequel?
Yes.
I don't know that I would. I don't know that I consider it a sequel. But I could see why you would.
I would, because it very much continues the thread of that movie, where monsters have started popping up in this world.
I mean,
and they're now going to the one last unexplored place of Earth to discover another monster.
Yeah.
They are aware of monsters because of Godzilla.
But it also doesn't connect. I don't believe it officially connects to Godzilla until the end of the movie, though.
I was going to say the end of the movie does. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, it does.
I wouldn't say it's maybe a spin-off, but I wouldn't say it's a sequel.
Okay, I'll come halfway with you. It's a spin-off.
But it's also it's a fucking good movie, though.
Oh, it's a great movie. Don't get me wrong.
We've been bearing the lead really badly here, but it's a really good movie.
I really enjoyed the movie. It's of the movies that I've watched this week. It's one of my, it's definitely
I've seen people
best.
go so far. I don't know that I agree with this sentiment, but I've seen people go so far as to say that it's better than Godzilla.
Oh no, I don't think I agree with that. But
I don't know that I agree with that. But
I don't think that's a fair comparison. That's like comparing apples to oranges.
I mean, they're in the same universe. They're both monsters. I don't know. It's fair game. I don't necessarily agree. I like it though. As as a Vietnam style, like guerrilla style, like
Yeah,
I like its style. I mean, there's a lot of really fun action sequences in it.
and it's got a lot of. Sorry, I'm losing my voice from all the talking we're doing. It has a lot of actors in it that I really like. I mean, you've got Loki, you've got you've got director Nick Fury, you've got John Goodman.
Yeah, you got.
You got Captain
Did
Marvel.
you say Loki already?
I did say
Oh,
Loki.
you say Loki already? You've got I forget his name. Oh, Wreck-It Ralph. You got Wreck-It Ralph.
I was gonna say you got Wreck-It Ralph. Those are the biggest ones. But no, it's fun. It's a fun movie and
Yeah,
it's
it's fun.
enjoyable and I love a good monster movie.
I do
and it's a
kind
good
of
monster
wish.
movie.
I do kind of wish that they had done like maybe one more Godzilla and one more Kong movie prior to going to Kong versus Godzilla. It felt kind of. But to be fair, I think that's because Monarch or the second Godzilla movie didn't do super well, so they panicked, and this one did. So they panicked. We're like, we need to glom Kong onto Godzilla quick.
Yeah. But
Because this one implies that Kong versus Godzilla is like a ways off, and then it turned out to be like the next movie they did. So it's like, well, I guess it wasn't as much of a ways off as we thought.
but I don't otherwise have a lot to say. I mean, apparently it did very well because it had a budget of 185 million and it had a box office reception of 568.6 million.
Yeah, it did. It was
So
a sleeper
it
hit.
was fairly
Yeah, nobody expected that
fairly
one
successful.
Nobody expected that one to do well, and then it just did. I think that was off the strength of its cast. I think because you got to kind of remember Marvel's big at the time, and these are all Marvel guys, so that's probably people went ooh Loki, and that's kind of why they went. Is he doing an American accent in that one? Loki.
I think he was.
Or is he?
I gotta be honest. I don't really remember.
Or is he
He
trying to
wasn't.
be-
He wasn't a standout. He wasn't a standout enough character for me. Sorry, I was just reading about the production development. In 2013, Peter Jackson, director of the 2005 remake, was originally handpicked, or he initially handpicked Adam Wingard to direct Skull Island, a sequel to Jackson's film. So this was supposed to be a sequel, not a reboot.
Does Adam Wingard direct it as is? Who's directing it? I didn't realize Adam Wingard
Let's
directed
find
it.
out.
Because Adam Wingard, he's the guy. No, he's not.
It is directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts.
Huh. Ah, what a weird coincidence. So he ended up directing Kong versus Godzilla. Anyway, that's very interesting. Because he's the guy who directed the last two ones.
But it's interesting to me that this was supposed to be a sequel, not a reboot.
How would you do it? I guess it was supposed to be Kong's kid, I guess? Because I was like, how do you do a sequel?
I guess.
Kong literally dies at the end of the last one.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm wondering...
I guess maybe that was supposed to be his this version of Kong's dad.
I guess maybe.
Who went off and died.
My guess would be that was prior to it being connected to the Godzilla stuff, if I had to guess.
Oh, probably. It probably also wasn't like actually written at that point.
No. I mean, there's a chance that there was probably a script. My guess is it was probably more of a son of King Kong thing than it was a. But to be fair, this movie implies that he's also that he's not in fact the original King Kong from like the 1930s movie. He's a different King Kong. That's why he's not called King Kong, by the way. Well, he's not called King Kong.
Yeah.
He's not called King Kong because of copyright reasons. That's why they're not allowed to call him King Kong. They're only that's why he's only ever called Kong.
Overall it's a good movie. I don't have a lot more to say about it. It's a pretty standard monster movie.
And let us head on into the stuff we hadn't seen. Joe, what's the first thing you hadn't seen?
That was the first one that I haven't seen.
Oh, that was the first one you hadn't seen? Brain fart. I don't know why. I think it's because I just lumped it in with Godzilla, and I was like, yeah, anyway. So the first one I haven't seen. Which one do I want to do first?
Because you did Power Rangers, which you had seen.
Yes.
And then I did Kong.
Yes, yeah. My brain. I think it's because we got talking about Godzilla again, so my brain lumped them together. Which one do I want to do first? Let's do Hellboy. So I watched the reboot of Hellboy. Wait, did we ask if that was a reboot? We did, yeah. I watched the Hellboy reboot, which kind of made me kind of go like, I think I don't know a lot about Hellboy. Like, I know nothing about Hellboy, and this movie, it feels like it was at one point supposed to be Hellboy
A
3.
sequel. I was
Yes.
gonna say a sequel.
It feels like at one point in the scripting process, this script was Hellboy 3. Because it begins from a place of, like, not telling you who Hellboy is and what his deal is and what the deal is. Like, it expects you to just know Deadpool, which doesn't, not Deadpool, Hellboy, which doesn't really work with Hellboy, because Hellboy is just not a well-known, in my opinion anyway, not a well-known character. So, like, it's like doing a lot of, like, assuming. But then out of nowhere, like, it just feels like it's a continuation. And then out of nowhere, they do the origin, and then they explain the origin and where Hellboy came from, what his deal is. But it doesn't include any of his side characters. So, like, Ape Sapien isn't there, and, like, his girlfriend isn't there. And yeah, it's just, there's moments where it's like, oh, there's reference. It's one of those irritating movies where he's like, yeah, it's like that time I did that thing off screen, off camera. It's like one of those. Where it's like, oh, it's like that time we did the thing together. Remember that time? And it was like, man, it would have been nice to see that in this movie. That you know, in a visual format. It's one of those. That all having been said, I actually liked it more than the original. I think I liked it more than the original, I think. Because it's more dynamic. Wait, I guess I should ask. Have you seen the original?
I know I've seen the first one. I don't think I ever saw the second one.
So, like, when I say that,
And I've seen two of the animated ones.
because I think when it comes to the live action movie, I think people remember the aesthetic more than anything, because there's none of all of there are action sequences in this movie that are really fun and really cool and really entertaining, and there's just nothing that sticks out from the original in terms of, like, action sequences or anything that was really all that memorable. I just remember the aesthetics. I just remember the Guillermo del Toro characters and Hellboy and the makeup, and, you know, I remember that, and the prosthetics, and that's all I remember. I don't really remember much else. Whereas this, like, yeah, the action sequences are really fun. It's really violent. It's really bloody. Which you know me, I love my gratuitous violence. David Harbour is Hellboy, and I quite like him as Hellboy. He's really fun. He's really fun as Hellboy. The prosthetics are not doing him any favors. It's weird. There's moments where he's getting really lost in them, and then there's moments where he's not, where he's like, I can see him very clearly and it's totally working, and there's, like, you're getting some emotion in it, but there's other times where he's like, yeah, he's totally getting lost in the makeup. Ask me, Jordan. Ask me the question you want to ask me.
Does this reboot the franchise?
It absolutely does not. No, they're doing another reboot with another actor.
Ooh.
Yeah, they did not do a sequel. But David Harbour has said... this movie made me realize also that I think I really quite enjoy David Harbour. I was trying to think of it. I was like, I don't think I've ever disliked him in anything. Like, every movie or every show I've ever seen him in, I always thoroughly enjoy him. He's just got this, like, weird, sarcastic, like...
whippiness?
Yeah, that is just really fun. Yeah, I've never seen a movie of his I didn't like. But otherwise, it's okay. It's an okay movie. It's a very okay movie. It's fine. It's like, it's nothing particularly egregiously bad about it.
Inoffensive.
My thing with it, though, is like yeah, it was very much like, oh yeah, I guess Hellboy's like, there's a character who shows up who is essentially like a combination of, like, what appears to be a combination of the Punisher and Captain America. Like, he shows up and like, basically the origin of Hellboy, very very briefly, is he's a demon who is summoned during World War II by Nazis who are trying to summon a particular demon who is trying to help them win the Second World War. And while they're summoning him, some superhero shows up who vaguely resembles Captain America, but it's brutal. He's got guns like the Punisher, and his costume is, like, black. So it appears like he's kind of supposed to be the Punisher, but he's, like, during World War II. So I'm like, oh, this feels like he's probably a prominent character in the Hellboy comics that I have no idea who it is. It means absolutely nothing to me. But the movie is under the understanding that you probably know who he is. It's one of those.
Yeah. Got it.
Was there anything else I had to say about Hellboy?
Is there anything else you have to say about Hellboy?
No, nothing. That was it. What's the
Nothing?
last one? Yeah, that was the last one.
All right. Well, my last have not seen is The Invisible Man, the
Ah,
2020
yes.
version.
Yes. So when I came home the other day, your general attitude had sort of indicated to me that you didn't think this movie was very good. But then later in the day, I could hear you watching it, and it sort of sounded like you were getting into it. So is this movie good, Jordan? Let's start there.
Um, okay. Yes, I liked it. Um, and so when you came in, my complaint was that I was like 20 to 30, 40 minutes, whatever, into it, and there had been no sign of the Invisible
There had
Man.
yet to be an Invisible Man.
But that's kind of the point. So basically, I mean, okay, this is probably going to be easier if you do this by asking me questions about it. Did I like it? Overall, yes.
So
Next question.
Next question. Is it better than the last Invisible Man you watched?
It's different.
Okay.
It
That leads me to my next question. Sorry.
it's I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. I mean, yes, on the just on the basis that it has a much higher budget. I think the other one was like an indie film.
Gotcha.
Um, but it also just it's going for a different thing.
Okay. Fair. That was going to be my next question. So, is it an adaptation of the book, like the last? Because the last one you watched was more of an adaptation of the book, a modern adaptation of the book.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
No.
So it's its own thing.
I would say this one isn't so much. So in kind of, yeah. So in the version that the first version that I watched, it was very much, the main story. Scientist turns himself invisible, goes crazy, yada yada yada. This version is more. So we follow the main girl, who. I don't remember what the character's name is.
Let me do it this way, and then it'll spare you from having to summarize this. So tell me if I, from what I understand, it's a woman, and she's being tortured by like an ex-boyfriend or whatever, who somehow inexplicably has an invisibility suit, and to my knowledge, they never explain where the invisibility suit comes from.
He made it.
He made it.
He made the invisibility suit because he's supposed to be basically he's described as like this super genius who is like what's the right wording, where you know what you're doing is wrong but you have no feelings.
Oh, sociopath.
Yeah, he's a sociopath, narcissistic sociopath.
Gotcha.
And she is the only person who has ever rejected him and said no and tried to leave.
Gotcha.
And he doesn't like that.
So do you ever actually see him?
And so you do, but there's a certain point in the movie where, essentially, it's framed as such as if he has framed his brother.
Oh yeah, he like
that's
fakes
her
his,
opinion.
He fakes his death, right? So everyone thinks he's dead.
In the beginning of the movie, like he has faked his death, and so then she starts getting harassed, but she's like, "I know it's him. And then there's a point where the person that's in the invisible suit attacks her friend who is a police officer and her and stuff, and he's like been doing a bunch of shit, and he gets shot, and they take the mask off of him, and you find out that it's the invisible man's brother, who we've run into at this point in the movie because he's been a lawyer and
so
doing
the twist is that it's not
stuff.
actually the guy we think it is.
Well, that's what I'm gonna be her for a second here. That's what he wants us to think.
Gotcha. So he killed his own brother and put him in the invisible suit and framed him.
No, he put his own brother. Like his brother was in the suit doing everything, and her perspective or her opinion or what she believes is prior to that specific incident, every other time it was the invisible, like, what's his name? Griffith?
Oh, is his name still Griffin?
I believe so.
Oh, that's so interesting. Oh, that's so interesting. So the bad guy, the invisible man, is still Griffin. Just like or whatever. Yeah, Griffin or whatever the heck his name is. That's what I was going to be my next question. Is it so?
Yeah. Oliver Jackson Cohen plays Adrian Griffin, a mad scientist and CEO of Cobalt.
Adrian Griffin.
And
Interesting.
Storm and Michael Dorman plays Tom Griffin, Adrian's brother and lawyer.
So who's the
So basically early in the movie, the brother comes to our main character, the girl, and is like, so Adrian's dead, and in his will he's left you basically like $5 million, and you'll get a certain amount per week, kind of thing. Like only under the condition that you don't commit any crimes, right? And then she gets framed for murder, basically.
Right. So,
so then he comes to her. He comes to her and is like the only way you get this. Basically, she had been lying. There's a lot. This movie is a lot, man. Sorry, you ask your questions. I'm gonna end up summarizing.
So what's the name of the original Invisible Man?
I don't remember exactly. I just know that it's something Griffin.
Is Griffin the last name? It wasn't the first name, right?
I think it's I think it's
Okay.
the last name.
Do you ever actually see the invisible suit?
Yes.
What does it look like?
So it's basically like a latex thing that they put on, and it's got like cameras all over the outside of it.
Right.
Like little circular cameras. So I guess the idea is that when it's electrified, it's basically like, you know, those suits where it's like you're not invisible, but you're just seeing what's behind you.
Right. Yeah, I do know what you
So
mean.
it's like it's like that, but on a suit.
But then sorry, it's just like
So like when he gets stabbed and when he gets shot and stuff, that's where the cameras start breaking and he starts becoming visible.
oh, okay. But because the reason why they never usually make the story technological is because it kind of starts to fall apart when it becomes. Wouldn't it be cumbersome?
Yeah.
And wouldn't you be able to hear him like shuffle around? Like, wouldn't the suit make noise? With him
I
moving in it?
mean, I'm guessing there's some sort of technology in there which stops that.
Because like
would be their explanation.
traditionally, the Invisible Man is chemical, right? So like when you're like, oh,
Yeah,
how come
usually.
nobody hears him? You're like, oh, it's because he's naked and he's not really making any sound. But like when it's a suit that's bulky and cumbersome and has a bunch of shit on it, presumably you'd hear him, right?
You would think so.
Like that's why I'm like, oh, the
And
decision
so-
to go technological is weird to me.
I mean, it exists. I can explain why it exists in such a fashion.
Sure, well, why not biological?
Just judging by the way that the movie, just judging by the way that the movie ends. So the movie ends. So at a certain point in the movie, she goes to his house and she sees at least a suit. I'm guessing it was a spare
Yeah.
on the thing that it gets stored on. And so later on in the movie, after the brother has been framed as the one who's been doing it all, she goes to Griffin's house, and that's where you actually get to see him. And she sets up basically where her cop friend is on the outside, and she's got a wire, and they're trying to it's the perception of that she's trying from her friend thinks that they're trying to get him to admit the truth, but she goes in, does her whole act, and is like, sorry, can I go to the bathroom? And meanwhile, Griffin's house has a bunch of security cameras and stuff around, and so she goes into the bathroom, and then we see through the security camera as Griffin grabs a knife and slits his throat, and then we find out like a bit later. Basically, we as the audience know she's wearing the suit.
Right.
She has the invisible suit now,
Right.
and has made it look like he is, like, basically, you know, turnabout is fair play.
Yeah.
Has made it look like he has done a thing that she didn't. She then comes out of the bathroom, and on the security camera, she's like, calls 911, takes all the proper steps. So she's in the clear, and then afterwards, she's talking to her friend outside or whatever, and he's like, so we were never coming here to get a confession, were we? And she's like, what are you talking about? He killed himself. And she's like, on the recording, it sure sounded like he killed himself, didn't it? And he's like, Yeah, it did. And then the movie ends with her walking towards the camera. Like, he has noticed that she has the suit in her bag. Her walking towards the camera with a smile on her face, setting up for then her sequel, which is what would have obviously been, because I don't know if there's any plans to make another one.
I'm not sure if there is actually.
Would have obviously been the Invisible Woman.
So I have one. How did she get the suit from him?
When she went to his place and no one was there, I'm guessing she took it.
But how did she get into his place? It just sort of seems like he would have it. Does he not have it guarded? Like he's just hanging on a coat hanger in his closet? Like
it was in a secret closet in the back kind of thing. And as for how she got in, it was a very technological place, and she had the code.
I mean, I don't know. It's just the fact that she just got the suit. That just seems kind of convenient.
Oh, I mean, I'm
Based
not
on your
saying that it's
description,
not.
anyway.
I'm not saying that the movie doesn't have problems, but like the slow descent of like, I think what I enjoyed about it.
It changes the.
And maybe I was more forgiving of this because the other two movies that I had seen were so bad
that
enough. This was good by comparison. But part of what makes it enjoyable, and me talking about it doesn't. I'm not selling it.
The tension
is the tension and the slow descent of like, we know she's not crazy.
Yeah.
But she ends up like at a certain point, she ends up in a psych ward and like they're strapping her down and they inject her. And she's like, I know he's there. And like, she sure as hell sounds crazy, but we know she's not.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I do like the fact that they've changed the psychological target, because usually it's the Invisible Man who's going through trauma. But yeah, you're right. It's like, yeah, if you could turn invisible, it would be other people you would drive crazy. Yeah, I don't
especially if it's
love
not
the idea that it's technological, though.
I was going to say, especially if it's technological and it's not biological.
Yeah.
The thing that drives him crazy usually is the biological aspect of it. There's something in the experiment which doesn't go right, like in the last one that I watched, or just the knowledge that he'll never be able to be seen again drives him crazy.
Yeah, well, the original, you lose track of what you look like. He starts to forget what he looks like, and that's what happens in Hollow Man.
Whereas in this one, where like, I mean, he could become visible whenever he wants.
Yeah.
So it's literally just about torturing other people.
Okay. We're gonna ask the question.
But the thing that makes it really, 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 really fun though for me is the fact that in the end, I don't know that he actually did anything.
Right.
I don't know that it wasn't just his brother, and she just vehemently believes that it was him, but we don't know that it actually was.
Right.
We as far as we know, it was his brother.
Yeah. Did this reboot the franchise? But Jordan, we're gonna take it a step further. Did this launch the Dark Universe?
I mean, being the fact that I didn't know that this movie existed until you mentioned it, I'm gonna say no. On both counts.
It really didn't.
It
was successful. It was a reasonably successful movie. I mean, to be fair, it's because it's low budget, but it did real well. It did real well. And so there were talks about doing a sequel, and they kept coming up in my news feeds, and then nothing happened of it.
Yeah, you're right. It had, and this makes sense when one of the main characters is invisible. Yeah. But it had a budget. It had a budget of $7 million, and it had a box office of $144.5 million.
Like the big question post this was like, oh, okay, they're gonna try to do another Dark Universe, but it's like, but this movie isn't really designed for that. Like, this isn't like The Mummy, which is specifically engineered to like be a big summer action. Like, that's not really what this was. This was a quieter psychological thriller. It wasn't really designed to launch a franchise.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh shit. It's a classic Universal monster character, and it's a movie that made a shit ton of money. We should try to turn this into a cinematic universe. And so I've heard them make several attempts at it.
I mean, as its own thing. As its own thing. Not as part of like a franchise and just as an individual movie. I definitely think it's worth a check out.
Yeah, it's on my. I've always wanted to watch it. I just never had a reason to. It's definitely one I wanted to see. I've heard good things about it. Is there anything else you had to say about The Invisible Man, Jordan? Before we jump into my last one, and we mercifully end this already too long episode.
Apparently, apparently one of the reasons why its theatrical release was cut short was because of COVID-19.
Yeah, that came out right on the cusp of that. But it made a
So
shit ton of
it
money
might have
regardless.
been more successful had that not happened. We'll
Yeah,
never know.
we'll never know. So for me, Jordan, my final movie of the week is I watched the Child's Play remake, the Chucky remake, and you know how we began this discussion of like with RoboCop with like, is it a good movie, or is it a good RoboCop movie?
Yeah.
The reason why I asked that is because this is this Child's Play remake. It's an okay movie. It's in fact a pretty good movie. It's just not Child's Play. He's just not Chucky. He's not Chucky. Because when I say Chucky, what sort of things does Chucky connotate? Who do you think Chucky is? What do you think Chucky is?
Small red-haired doll with a knife that stabs people.
Right, but like in terms of his character, like what do you think? Who do you think he is?
Small redhead doll that with a knife that stabs people. I don't know. I've never watched a Chucky movie.
You're describing what he is, but you're not. He's a man who's possessed a doll. It's a doll that's possessed by a man. Is the important point. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that Chucky
I've never watched a Chucky movie.
A haunted doll. But
I know that he's a haunted doll. I didn't know it was a man.
But the whole thing with this is Chucky is now an AI. He's a robot. He's it's basically, this movie is basically a variation of Toy Soldiers, where Chucky, instead of being a doll that's possessed by a guy, he is now a AI machine that becomes sentient, and he becomes obsessed with the main character Andy, and he decides that Andy can only be his friend, and anyone who is not anyone else has to die. And he decides that he needs to kill everyone who is Andy's friend, because Andy is the only one who can be his friend. And the movie loses something. The whole point, that the whole thing is like, when it comes to the doll murdering people, a lot of the deaths are senseless, because the minute it's a piece of technology, it's just a piece of technology that's malfunctioning. There's no reason for him not to say anything. Like the original Chucky, he's just a regular doll, right? That
Right.
Charles E. Ray possesses, right? And so when Chucky starts to kill people, and like this doll starts to move around on his own, like you're like, oh yeah, people wouldn't suspect this because it's just a doll. But with this Chucky, because he's a robot, when he starts to kill people, like it begins with like he kills a cat, and one of the people that lives in Andy's building is an old lady who her son is a cop who keeps showing up, and they keep interacting. And so once Chucky kills the cat, just go to the cop and or your mom and be like, yeah, Chucky is malfunctioning. He's not working. And then you just shut him off, and then no one else dies. But he chooses to like hide the fact that Chucky killed something, which like in the original makes sense, because you find out that Chucky is real and he's talking to you. You obviously sound crazy because it's just a doll. But in this case, because he's a robot, there's no reason for him not to say anything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah. And
I mean, I suppose it depends on how sentient of a machine he is, though. If Chucky is smart enough to play dead when other people are around, then you could still have that issue of, well, nobody's gonna believe me, and
Right.
he's gonna fake.
Well, I was gonna say one of the big issues with this movie.
Or another clever way that they could have done it, if we're looking at ways to just fix this outright, is you make it so he's an AI who then downloads like you make it so that this takes place in a world where the Chucky movies and shows and everything exists,
Yeah.
and they accidentally download Chucky into this AI.
Oh my god, that would have made this so much better, because in the second half they need him to be Chucky, which the Chucky in this movie is voiced by Mark Hamill, so he just kind of turns into a robot Joker. Like his Chucky laugh is just the Joker laugh.
Right.
But for the end of this movie, they need him to be Chucky, but there's no. So Chucky starts off innocent, like innocent and sweet and nice. And the whole thing is like he's one of those AIs that you teach. So like he starts to learn, and the whole plot of it is the only reason why he turns evil is because there's a factory worker in Taiwan. Okay, I suppose you're giving me the vibe that I'm not describing what's happened in this movie well enough. I will do a very fast version, I promise. But very basically, this exists in a world where this one corporation has built all of these Chucky dolls. They basically own all the corporations, so they have all these devices, and all the devices interact with each other. And Chucky is a robot doll that can interact with your devices and turn. He's basically a doll version of like your Google Home, basically. But it's more advanced. Okay. So it learns what you like, what you don't like, whatever. You know, you've seen it 1,000 times.
Learning algorithm. Got it.
Yeah. It has a learning algorithm. And so Andy, the main character, he has recently moved to this new apartment with his mom, who is played by Aubrey Plaza. It's very weird. It's weird to see her as a mom. I don't buy it. Anyway, so she gets him one of these dolls. And the whole thing is obviously it's Chucky. The doll is going to malfunction. Well, the reason it malfunctions is because one of the workers who's creating it, his boss like slaps him in the face and like says something to him in Chinese, and then like he just turns the chip evil, and then he kills himself. Like he's like, Chucky's evil now, and then he ships out the doll, and it goes to Chucky. And Chucky doesn't start off evil. He starts off like innocent, and Andy teaches him to be evil by like having him like they're watching like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre together, and they're laughing. And one of his friends, he makes a friend later on, and he has Chucky like try to stab a toy doll, and he's like, say this is for Tupac, say this is for Tupac. And so they keep just teaching Chucky violence and like to stab things and to kill things, and so the kid's cat hurts scratches Andy. And so Chucky's like, "Oh, you hurt my friend. You hurt Andy." So he like goes to choke the cat, and Andy's like, "No, don't do that. Don't hurt the cat." And then later on, Chucky starts to go crazy or whatever. He kills the cat, and then the mom is dating this piece of shit boyfriend or whatever, who's like abusing him or whatever. He's like, "Oh, I just want him to go away." So Chucky kills him. Because he thinks that's what Andy wants. And so then Andy's like, whoa, he kills him, and then he cuts off his face and gives it to Andy. And Andy's like, whoa, I don't want this. And so he shuts down Chucky. Like he takes out the core that operates him, and he shuts him down. And this random neighbor character, who was otherwise creepy random neighbor character, who up until that point had not been in the movie at all, and has been spying using cameras somehow on everyone in the apartment, finds Chucky and repairs him. And then Chucky now it becomes Chucky basically. He's fully fixed and he's fully aware. But like, and the movie wants you to be like, oh, he's Chucky now. But like, he's already been Chucky up until that point. So it's a really weird turn. And like his turn, like the thing with Chucky originally is he kills people because he's crazy and because he's a psychopath. Like, that's why he kills people. Whereas in this, they don't really justify him killing people. He's just a killer doll. Like, he's just a robot doll. Like, there really isn't any personality to the killings. There really isn't any like passion for it that Chucky would normally display. It's just kind of lifeless. And there's just a lot of deaths in this movie which are like needless. Like, normally when a character dies in a slasher flick, you like are kind of like rooting for them to get it. But in this one, there's some deaths where you're like, oh, that person didn't deserve. Like, there's a character who survives at the end who I legitimately cheered because I was like, oh, when he got killed, I was like, oh, he didn't really deserve that. Like, he was just nothing but nice the whole movie. Like, he didn't. That was uncool.
Right.
But yeah, it's a fine movie. Like, the violence is kind of, it's really violent in a way that's cartoonish and kind of, I hate saying fun, but kind of like over the top. My thing with it though is I had such trouble. It feels like it's missing scenes. Like, there's a bit where like he's 1 minute he has no friends and he's hanging out with Chucky, and then the next thing I know he's got like 5 different friends and a friend group he's hanging out with that he hasn't had, and it felt like I was missing a scene. And I couldn't tell if that was because the version of it I watched was like got cut off because it was really hard to find this movie. So I couldn't tell if it was just a bad version I got, but I was like, it can't, because I watched this on YouTube. but it was still really violent on YouTube. So it was like if it was a matter of like futzing with it for copyright, they would have, or for like monetization reasons, they definitely would have cut out the violence, right? Like they would have futzed with it to hide the violence. So the fact that this looks like and it doesn't look like it's been edited. Like, you know how sometimes you see like videos on TikTok where it's like for copyright, it's like super zoomed in or whatever, and it's like it's clearly been the image.
Yeah.
This didn't look like that. I mean, it wasn't in HD. It was like in real. It was like not great quality, but like the frame itself hadn't been fucked with. But yeah, it just wasn't very good.
But
As
did
a
it
childhood
reboot the
movie.
franchise?
It did not. It did not. They wanted to do
It
a
did
sequel.
not?
They wanted to do a sequel, and it did kind of okay that they might have, but ultimately they're like, no, a sequel will never happen because they eventually made the series with the original creator and the original voices and all the original designs, and that took off. So I don't think we'll ever see a second one. I don't think we'll see a version of this version of the franchise, which is good because yeah, it's not really as a killer robot toy doll movie. It's pretty good, but as a Child's Play movie, it's not good.
So you're saying you wouldn't buy that for
I
$1?
would not buy that for $1. That's a different '80s franchise. No, I refuse to buy that for $1.
I will buy that.
But
for
that was
$1.
reboots, and yeah, they were. It turns out a lot of reboots are bad.
Reboots.
Reboots, beep beep.
Reboots.
Beep boop. With that, we're gonna move on to the next week, which I was gonna announce part of, but I think I'm gonna keep part of what's gonna happen next week a secret. There may or may not be someone dropping by next week. Who's to say? Who's to confirm that? But I need to give Jordan the assignment for what we're gonna be doing next week. And next week's assignment, everybody. Jordan, give me a drum roll. Wait.
I'm doing it.
Oh, that didn't
That's
work.
That's not a drum roll.
Jordan, continue the drum roll. Next week, we're gonna do fantasy movies, but not just Jordan, not just medieval fantasy. Okay, because I know you're gonna be like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons and Lord of the Rings. I know we talked about Lord of the Rings a bunch, but anything that involves some type of fantasy. That's the selection. So it might not be. It could be medieval fantasy. Maybe it's not medieval fantasy. As long as when you Google fantasy, it has the fantasy tag on there, or it's about a type of fantasy. We're gonna talk about it next week. But yeah, come back next week.
Perhaps one of us could even do the Final Fantasy.
The Final Fantasy. But that's coming next week. Tune into that. Thank you for sticking it out with us this week, guys. This was a very long episode. We talked a lot about Spider-Man's suit for some reason. I don't know why that happened. But once again, we have to shout out.
Because we were very passionate about technology.
We have to shout out. We have to shout out one more time before we wrap up the show. Go check out Goosebumps Cruise Kickstarter, the one weekend in Horrorland. It looks really cool.
Do it.
And they need all the help they can get. And
do it.
Yeah, we're real happy to shout those guys out and support them. It's gonna be real cool. So yeah, check that Kickstarter out.
Do it.
Be prepared to watch that commercial a lot over the next few weeks. But Jordan, where can people find you?
I do Minecraft Monday on Twitch.
It's on a Monday.
Zethgore187. It's Monday, and it's Minecraft.
It's Minecraft. It's on Monday.
Maybe one day I'll do more again.
Maybe
I don't
one day.
know.
Who knows? Who could say? I'm on TikTok.
Who could say?
I'm on TikTok. You can find me on TikTok. We also have a new TikTok, which I need to put in our descriptions. I keep forgetting to do that. For the show exclusively, you can go follow that. Please go follow that. Please obviously like and comment thoughts about any of the reboots we talked about today. Did you like Power Rangers 2017? Tell me why. Somebody explain to me why you like 2017 Power Rangers.
Join our Discord.
Join our Discord. You can join our Discord. That's obviously, I try to keep that link updated, but it expires every 7 days. It's fucking stupid. And you can obviously email the show. I've got the email for the show in the email. Leave a comment. Leave a comment that's cool. Don't leave uncool comments. And hey, maybe we'll do another comment reading section on the show one day. But with that, it's been another episode of the Spur of the Moment podcast. Thank you for joining us. Bye, Jordan. Say bye, Jordan.
Bye, Jordan. See ya.